explain about the basic outline regarding that sequencing technologies. Already I have sent the program schedule. So that's why please note down all these things, important points, because you are all from different disciplines. Right, botany, chemistry, zoology, biotechnology. So many disciplines are there. But our core point is, thumb line is, we should learn all that basic part. That is very, very important thing. Because one way is learning. See, now a lot of pressure on both the researcher as well as the research scholars. Because you have to learn so many things. Bioinformatics one field. Suppose someone you link to bioinformatics with nanoscience, okay, you have to learn nanoscience also. Then metagenomics, transcriptomics, so many things are there. So that is why you have to specialize in all these things. So that's why, and whenever you want to publish a paper, research paper, in impact factor journals, very important point is that hypothesis. Without hypothesis, you may not in a position to publish your research papers in impact factor journals. That is very, very important part. Again and again I am telling you, whatever research you are doing, you should publish in impact factor journals. Otherwise, there is no point in doing any kind of hard work. So this is the thing normally we are telling to our students. So that is why it is my opportunity to convey that same message to you all. So that's why whatever job you are doing, go for publications. Without publications, yes, it is very difficult to compete with anyone. Because another why I am telling this one. See, previously in this kind of field, yes, biology only we only know. And the computer specialists, they know only about that thing. But nowadays, what is happening? Computer specialists, they are learning biology. That's why they are occupying our positions. Okay. So that is why now we are learning their part. So that is why, yes, a lot of competition is going on. So that is why, that is a prime thing. So now I hand over the session to our Professor Massimo Delironi.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Gigi. So, working? Not working?
Yeah.
I forgot to show. Okay, we'll do it back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, I can speak even without it working.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, guys, very informal. So stop me. Today I try to be your chef and to explain you some of the ingredients that you use for cooking. You know, if you say hot pepper, it can be completely different, okay? So like when you say sequencing and also Lumina sequencing, maybe something completely different when you see that even with Lumina technology, there are different technologies actually. So the results are different. It's very basic, so it may be boring for you. I hope anyway you try to understand the difference between the technologies. First of all, if you wonder what it is this, I forgot to put a slide to computer file. So this is the bionic cochlear implant and the cyborg. I like it. So I don't hear through my ear, I hear through my brain. Inside here there is a piece of titanium and the magnet. So this is a transmitter, and the magnet is connected to a coil with an electrode that is 12 centimeters long that goes into my brain, and it's amazing because I hear through stimulation of the nerve. So this is this small computer is converting the analog signal of your voice into some digital signal that is allowing the electrode to give electricity to the nerve, and the nerve gets some electricity and I hear beep. It's amazing, okay? It's not really working like a normal ear, but allow me to hear somehow, okay? So please stop me anytime, but consider that it's difficult for me to understand. You know, when I'm in Italy or in the US, the fact I'm used to the accent, you see, I have my lovely Italian accent, yes, terrible Italian accent, okay? But my ear is used to hear, got used to hear the American accent, so even if I don't understand everything, I catch few parts of the sentence and I can reconstruct it, and also in Italy. Here it will be more difficult, so please be patient, maybe repeat, but allow me to understand your question, okay? About me, I was a plant biologist. I have a degree in agriculture. And then I got fallen in love with genetics, and I started doing genetics in plants. Then I moved to disease resistance, so how the plant deal with the pathogens. And that was fantastic. Then I went to the US in '98, and there I met Francis Crick. Francis Crick was in my same institution with the place of the Mercedes Pagoda GATC. And there was also Renato Dubecco, another Nobel Prize Italian. Renato Dubecco was just back in the US after having left Italy forever, because Italy was involved in the International Human Genome Consortium to discover our genome. The project was, the draft human genome was released in 2001. Italy, at the beginning of the 90s, was involved in the project, and that was fantastic for the entire scientific community, because by sequencing the human genome, we were building a new generation of scientists who were not just geneticists, they were genomicists. And for Italy, like for many other countries, it was so important to be involved in that initiative. But Italy is a very strange country. After a few years, Italy decided to stop giving money to the project. And so Italy was pushed out of the Human Genome Sequencing Initiative. And Dubecco went back to the US. He was one of the promoters of the Human Genome Sequencing Initiative. And Italy lost a fantastic opportunity to raise a new generation of scientists able to deal with genomics. Okay? So a few years later, we realized in Italy that we needed genomicists because, sequencing is like a computer, you know. Now, can you stay without a computer and keep using the typewriter? It's impossible, okay? So computing changed our life. Now I can go anywhere with my phone and be connected with the world. I can do computing with this, and now we can do exactly the same thing with sequencing. That's why I am here, okay? I will show you that computer and sequencer are very similar. We can go around and go anywhere now with the sequencer and sequencer. And so we decided to start doing some sequencing, and we didn't know what to do because we wanted to sequence something that was typical of Italy. But what is a typical product of Italy? We don't have anything. Tomato, Italian tomatoes are fantastic, but they come from US, the seeds. Corn is coming from US as a seed. We don't have anything. The only thing that we have is grape wine. We drink a lot of wine. And so we, together with the French people, decided to sequence the grapevine genome. In 2007, we spent 15 million euros to sequence the grapevine genome. And we realized that sequencing was an art at that time. So nothing is perfect. If you want to be able to get the best of the sequencing data, you need to know how the sequencing technologies are working. And in that period, 2007 and so on, the new or next generation sequencing technologies were starting, advancing, Illumina, and all the others that we will see today. But they are different and they have growth. So in those years, I realized that it's impossible to use a technology if you don't know exactly how it works. And it's impossible to stay updated with technology if you have a biology in your hand. So you have to split, or you become a technologist and you only follow technology, or you are a biologist in a wide term. I mean that you are asking biological questions, okay, and you need the technology. So lately, I decided to become a technologist, and I quit all my activities related to biology, and I started a new laboratory that now has about 20 people dedicated just on technology. Okay, so we have a lot of collaboration, and like for instance, Italy went in the International Cancer Consortium because of this capacity that we had at that time to know the technology. So today, I'm preparing for you this first lecture, but actually are very much important because it will allow you to understand the pros and the cons of every technology possible. And also consider that technologies are evolving very much like the phone. Okay, so the first Illumina patent expired last year. So this year we see new companies on the market, and you must be aware of the advantages and disadvantages that these new technologies are offering. Okay? So going back to the sequencing of the human genome sequence, that was a draft, because today we still don't have a complete human genome. There are many pieces of chromosomes that are still unknown. Also the Y chromosome, we don't know much about it. Okay? So the Human Genome Reference Consortium, the Human Genome Reference is now a genome that has many pieces of chromosomes that are still unknown. Okay, we know more or less things, but we are very far from knowing everything. And that genome has been produced with the sample. Okay, so I'm giving you the presentation at the end. I will give you the PDF. The PDF, I put some slides describing things that I'm not going to read now. They are made for you. Okay, so they are the explanation of the next slide. So the Sanger technology is the technology Sanger got 2 Nobel Prizes. Okay? One Nobel Prize was because he discovered one of the 2 systems for sequencing DNA. I remember during my undergraduate thesis, in 9 months of my work in the laboratory, I've been able to sequence 600 nucleotides. That was 86, 87. So 9 months of work to sequence 600 nucleotides, a gene of a bacteria. It was a mess by using radioactive material on the bench. At the time we were still smoking and purifying DNA with phenol, and it was not a problem. Okay? So the Sanger technology relied on the deoxynucleotide. The deoxynucleotide are the normal nucleotide that the polymerase incorporated into the DNA. The D-deoxy is a modified nucleotide that does not allow extension, so it's blocked. It's kind of blocked. So let's say that you have the 4 so this is working fantastic. Let's say that you have 4 nucleotides. Let's say that you have this sequence, and you have a polymerase that is going to synthesize the second strand. Okay, we start from the beginning and it will go on. But Sanger said, if together with the 4 normal nucleotides, I add a little bit of a D-deoxy, statistically, let's say that this T sometimes will be incorporated at the first position, but because it's not just that nucleotide present, sometimes here there will be a normal nucleotide incorporated. So if you add that only the DDoS like in this case, the polymerase will always stop the first time it will incorporate the T. But if you use a combination of normal T and some DDoS T, polymerase sometimes will incorporate the normal one and sometimes it will incorporate the modified one, okay? Looking in this case, sometimes the first T that will be incorporated will be the DDoS, and the length of the sequence will be so short. But sometimes the first T incorporated will be a normal one, and the second one will be a DDoS. Okay? In some other molecules, you are not just sequencing a single molecule, you sequence thousands of molecules. Okay? So statistically, you will find some molecules that will be just 2 nucleotides long, some molecules that will be longer, and they will stop at the second T. Some molecules will stop at the third T. Some molecules will stop at the fourth, and so on. Okay? Now, take four different tubes. In the first tube, you add the 4 normal nucleotides plus the modified A. In the second tube, the 4 normal nucleotides plus the modified C. In the third tube, the 4 normal nucleotides plus the modified T, and so on. Now, this is the sequence that is unknown. In the case of the A, you will have a sequence that is 3 nucleotides long before to reach the first incorporation of nucleoside. Then some other will be 4, and some other will be something like 7. Okay? So, same for the 4 tubes. Then you load the content of the 4 tube on a acrylamide gel. Acrylamide gel is something very old that we were using very long time ago that allow you to discriminate fragments that are different of only a single nucleotide. Okay? So you run the gel for different wells, and you will see in the first lane the fragment that have been produced by this reaction. So there will be fragments that are 3, 4, and 3, 4, 3, 6, 7, and 8 nucleotide long. Okay? Then same in the second tube, there will be only 2 different fragments and so on. And then you start from the bottom, you come up and you look in which lane there is the fragment. So you start from here, okay? Or from here. You see the first nucleotide is in the second lane is a C. Then the second nucleotide is in the fourth lane is a G, and so on. And you start reconstructing the sequence. Okay? With your sample. Then technology was improved in order to avoid producing deep cells that had to be read manually. And instead of using 4 different lanes, I don't know if you can see here, maybe this one, yeah. The idea was, instead of using 4 different DDoS in 4 different tubes and just looking in which lane you could see the band, the idea was bind a different fluorophore to the 4 different nucleotides. At this point, you put together the 4 normal nucleotides and a little bit of each DDoS. At this point, you can load all the fragments together because you will be able to understand which is the nucleotide that has been incorporated as last, so the DDoS, by looking at the fluorescence. Okay? So if you see it is the equivalent. This is the old way, this is the new way. So instead of having 4 different lanes, it's a single lane, but where the 4 different DDoS have a different color. And instead of using a gel, it's possible to use a capillary system, very small, that is full of acrylamide, where you pass the DNA. And you see, when the DNA is going down, there is a laser here that is exciting the fluorophore. So if this is the laser, when the band passes close to the laser, you see increasing intensity of the signal, and then the band goes down and the signal disappears. So what you observe is something like this. Okay, so the peak is when the fragment is right in front of the laser. Okay, so the peak starts when the band passes close, and then disappear when the band passes. And simply by looking at the color, you can infer the sequence. So this is a parallelogram. You see the 4 different nucleotides, and this is read by a computer, because the computer simply takes the color of the most abundant peak and is going to infer which is the nucleotide that is corresponding. Okay? And with this technology, we can go on and on, but this technology may be crappy. That's why you always need to check with your eyes. Like in this case, there is contamination. There are 2 different sequences that are sequenced together. So the computer in this case is stupid, doesn't know that there is contamination. It's only reporting the sequence of the most abundant peak, but you clearly see that in this position there is something else there. Okay? So also the Sander sequence, despite being the most solid sequencing system that we have even today, may have problems. So always, even if you produce now standard sequence, always check your parallelogram. Now this technology evolved at the point that, I'm sorry if you cannot probably read from there, one of these sequencer, but I'm going to delete the numbers, it's not so important. Usually the slides are quite good in terms of size, so you should be able to see it. Anyway, one of these, you focus, it's more able. One of these systems is able, running 24 hours a day, to produce 1.6 megabases. 1.6 megabases is 1.6 million of nucleotides, okay? So in one day, keep it running, you produce 1.6 megabases. Now, the system is working, you know, the old system is that you may have a piece of DNA in a clone, so you grow the E. coli, and then you purify the DNA, and then you sequence it, okay? That's okay if you have a few clones. But consider of sequencing the entire human genome. That means that you have to chop 3 gigabases. The human genome is 3 billion nucleotides. You have to chop the entire human genome in very small pieces and clone in a single vector every single piece, and then grow manually every single clone in order then to sequence with a sampler. It took 13 years to do this on human, okay? Because it was a very complicated procedure requiring a lot of person work. Furthermore, one of these sequencers that at that time was costing something like $80,000 was able to deliver 1.6 megabases per day. Now, how long it takes for one of these sequencers to sequence the entire human genome? A lot. But consider that if the human genome is 3 gigabases, it's not that you randomly chop the DNA, clone in vectors, and sequence, and if you sequence 3 gigabases, you will have complete representation of the human genome. Think about dice, 6 faces. But if you throw the dice 6 times, can you make sure that you will read all the faces? No. You will see some faces twice, and you will not see some faces, okay? So the statistically, you have 1/6 of probability of having one phase anytime. In the big number, that is true. So if you throw the dice 6,000 times, more or less, you will have 1,000 representation of each phase. But if you throw the dice only 6 times, no. So, if the human genome is 3 gigabases, you cannot expect to sequence 3 gigabases in order to represent the genome. With this technology, you have to sequence at least 8 times more. So that means that to be able to see all the faces of the dice, you have to throw the dice at least 8 times more. That means that for an acceptable representation of the human genome, you need to sequence 24 gigabases. If one of these sequencers is producing 1.6 megabases, that means that one of these instruments takes 15,000 days to sequence the human genome. 15,000 days is a very long time. Okay? We cannot wait 15,000 days to sequence each of us. You can solve the problem by buying 1,000 sequencers. If you have 1,000 sequencers, you will sequence the human genome in 2 weeks. But if one sequencer costs $80,000, 1,000 sequencers cost $80 million, and you need 1,000 people, one per sequencer, and you need a very big laboratory with 1,000 instruments. Okay, so clearly that technology would not allow us to sequence each of us. What we understood when we sequence the human genome is that the human genome is like a computer. Okay, so it is impacting so dramatically in our life, in our society, that everyone wants to have one. Okay? You want to have your phone, you have your phone. Well, each of us have to have the possibility of having his own genome. Okay? But if you have to dedicate so much money and time to each of us, you will never be able to deliver a phone to each of us. So, at that point, we decided, as a scientist, as a scientific community, to stop, like when we went to the moon. We went there, reached the goal, now you stop. You have to reduce the cost, improve the efficiency before going back, okay? We decided to stop, and what people define the next generation sequencing technology, NGS. For me, at the beginning, it was an NGS not generation technology, sequencing technology, because we didn't sequence anything anymore. We started developing new sequencing technologies that allowed us then to reduce the cost of sequencing and the time required for sequencing. You see, Francis Watson was sequencing 2 months, spending $2 million in 2008. 7 years after releasing the first draft of the human genome that required 13 years and $3 billion. So you see, it's still a lot of money. It's not that you can sequence each of us, and still it's a lot of time. It's 2 months, but it's a huge improvement compared to 13 years and $3 billion, okay? Then he has been releasing his own genomes. He didn't care, genome is very private. We have a problem in Europe that many people now sequence their own genome by relying on companies that acquire their data. Okay, it's like Facebook. When you put something on Facebook, it belongs Facebook property. Okay, in Italy, people are distributing or releasing their data, and this is wrong. Those are very private information. Okay. Anyway, he didn't care about releasing private information because even if you would have found the gene of, I don't know, craziness or something like this, he a Nobel Prize, okay? So here is everything, almost everything about his own genome, but he didn't want to know or to release information about the ApoE. ApoE is a genetic combination of this gene that is producing this lipoprotein, blah, 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 that is correlated to Alzheimer's. And because there are no drugs for the moment available, he didn't want to know if he had a predisposition to Alzheimer's. So he didn't allow anyone to check into the genome and see if he had the genetic predisposition of it. But the rest, anyway, was very interesting because he had been the first single individual to be sequenced. The human genome reference, when the process started, people started asking, are we going to sequence a male or a female? Of course, a male. The female doesn't have the Y chromosome, so it's not representative of the species. The male is, because in any case he has an X chromosome, okay? But then the problem is the mitochondrial DNA that we have in our cell, that is female, because it's transferred from a female to the baby. The male is never contributing to that. So they said, okay, let's sequence a male. But then a white male, black male, blonde, blue eyes. At the end they said it's impossible to decide who is representative of our species. So let's put together male, female, of different donors, and then blindly, randomly choose DNA from a few donors, put everything together, so the DNA will not represent a single individual, but it will be more or less representative of our species, okay? And that is what we have done. And then, with Watson, we have been sequencing the first individual. Then, the technology kept improving, and today, we can sequence a human genome in a single day by spending in 2023 $200. Okay, the cost of sequencing is dropping, and there are companies which are facing the market this year that claim to be able to sequence a human genome even with less. $100 is nothing. $100, $200. So you see, the impact of this technology is dramatically impacting on the scientific society. This year, having the genome sequenced would be like having the phone in your wallet. Each of us, all of us have a phone in the wallet or wallet, in the pocket, okay? So that means that the genomic technologies is impacting all the areas of life science dramatically. But you know that there are differences in the phone, right? Not all the phones are identical. And there are differences in the sequencing technologies. So that's why I'm going to spend a few hours dedicating describing the different technologies that are available. Who of you is already familiar with the sequencing? For sure knows Illumina, who has been dominating the market. But Element is on the market since May last year and is a very promising sequencer. Bio is releasing a short read sequencer in the second quarter of this year, so that means in a month, 2 months. And then BGI, MGI, the Chinese, finally, now we will see that the debate with Illumina is over. They are reached an agreement. So those sequencers will impact on the market, and that happen very much. Ultima Genomics will be ready at the end of this year. This is producing human genomes for less than $100, okay? But the problem is that it's producing 30,000 human genomes in a year. So the throughput of this instrument is dramatic, okay? So you need big centers in order to be able to deal with the number of genomes that this sequencer can produce. So we will go to, and Singular is coming. It's already available in the US, it's coming to Europe at the end of this year. I don't know when it will come in this part of the world, but it's coming. And we will see that all these technologies have been, apart from this one, have been developed by ex-Illumina people. So an engineer who left the company and they set up other companies waiting for the patent to expire. Now the patent expired. Cellular genomics is identical to Illumina, same technology, relying on the fact that the patent are not there anymore. But even today, the technology that we have is this. It's like putting a bomb into the cell, you chop the DNA in very close pieces, and then you try with a fantastic computational effort to reconstruct everything, okay? But you know that the human genome, like many genomes, is very complicated because it's repetitive. There are many pieces that are identical like this, so it's impossible to reconstruct the human genome. And today, 2023, the reconstruction of the human genome is something like this. It's crappy. Any genome that you sequence is so crappy, but good enough to start doing biology, because the majority of the genes are there, but the repetitive part are not characterized, okay? So think about that. The genomes that we produce today are crappy, very far from being perfect. So that's why it's so important to understand the limitation. And that's why what we usually do is not sequencing, is resequencing. We have the reference genome, we sequence something of the same species, of course, and then we take the short reads and we map them on the reference. And we compare. By comparing the reference genome and our genome, we can see, for instance, here, that there is a nucleotide in this individual that is different compared to the reference. It's what we call single nucleotide variant, okay? We were using single nucleotide polymorphism before, or mutation. We don't use the word mutation anymore. The American College of Medical Geneticists decided that mutation is a bad word. You have a mutation. No. You have a variation. Variation is, in our mind, it's much beautiful as a meaning than mutation. Okay? Then, in our individual, there are no sequences marking in this region. That means that there is a deletion. Our individual does not carry this piece of DNA. Then our individual has an extra coverage of this region. So that means that there is a duplication. Okay? So by comparing, in this case we are not sequencing, we are re-sequencing. We are comparing one individual with the reference genome. That is what we do. Now the problem is, if you think about Homo sapiens, the reference genome was a blend of donor DNA. Now you check out the differences and you infer that the difference may be damaging. So you infer that maybe you are sequencing a patient affected by some disease. You find the variation compared to the reference genome, so you can say this is the variant responsible of the disease. So you infer that every difference may be responsible for the phenotype. But who told you that the reference genome is a healthy genome? It's a blend of DNAs of people, anonymous. Maybe they were affected by something, or they were carried or something. So we have the problem that even the reference genome now has to be manually curated in order to remove all those letters that actually are not the best letter. They are associated with something. So we keep working on the reference genome, and we are now at version 38 of the human genome. 38. It's amazing, huh? So it's not that we have a reference genome, so we keep improving it. So now we go to the history of next generation sequencing by starting with the 454. That is the one that has been used to sequence Watson's at the beginning. Okay? This technology had the guy who developed this technology is Jonathan Albert, he sold this technology to Roche for about $300 or $400 million. And then he developed another technology that is a thermofisher ion torrent that we will see later for another $500 million. And he's now working on another technology, so this guy is rich. And became rich by simply developing sequencing technology. The first thing that he did, it has been to try to avoid this manual work of cloning a piece of DNA in a clone, then growing the bacteria, purifying the DNA. If you have one clone, it's fine, but if you have millions of clones, it's very much complicated. Okay? Decided to rely on the PCR that automatically was amplifying all the pieces of DNA. So by doing this, you cannot read it, but let's say, here is a constant. Let's say that you want to sequence a human genome. Let's say it takes weeks to prepare the clones. In this case, in one day, less than 1 day, you can do exactly the same by doing, I get back to this slide, by doing something like this, that is. You take beads, beads. Beads, they have an oligo bound to it. Many oligos identical. Imagine of having 1 million fragments and 1 million beads. Every bead binds a single fragment. Then, by PCR, you amplify that single fragment in order to, instead of having 1 fragment, 1 bead, having thousands of fragments on the same beads by amplification. So how can you put 1 million beads in the same tube that allow an independent amplification? By using this immersion, this droplets. So you put the bead into a droplet with all the components that allow you to perform PCR. Okay? So inside this droplet there is the bead, the DNA, the polymerase, the nucleotides, everything that is required to perform PCR. And then you can put up to 1 million, let's see if I forgot that I had this one. So you see, inside this Eckendorf tube, there are up to 1 million droplets that independently perform amplification of the fragment that is bound to the bead. Imagine having to manually amplify 1 million fragments or to manually handle 1 million bacterial clones, or to simply, in a tube, put together 1 million droplets that an instrument is producing for you. Okay? So by this, with a simple amplification, you produce 1 million different DNA. Now, each of these DNA then has to be sequenced. How? You put the beads into a plate with all the components that Jonathan Rothberg considered important for sequencing. By using this approach, he found that anytime a polymerase incorporates a nucleotide, a pyrophosphate is released. So ATP, adenosine 3-phosphate. Okay? So one of the 3-phosphate is released. What can you do with this pyrophosphate? Well, if I put this enzyme, this pyrophosphate will be converted to ATP. So sulfurylase is producing ATP from the pyrophosphate. Well, how do I see ATP? Well, think about the firefly. Okay? Firefly is using ATP in order to convert luciferin by using the luciferase enzyme. So luciferase plus ATP, they produce a flash of light. So anytime a nucleotide is incorporated, a pyrophosphate is released and converted to ATP by sulfurylase, that then is causing a photon release by luciferase. Clever, right? And simple. You know, I hope that when I will leave, you will remember me in the sense that I made you thinking that, you know, it's so much important to know your tools. You have a toolbox, and you must know what you can do with your tools. If you are a chef, you must know what you can do with your ingredients. The ingredients are very simple and very few, but only if you know every single characteristic of them, you can invent a new dish. Okay? So molecular biologists are like chefs, exactly the same thing. The problem is that today, 2023, most molecular biologists don't even know which are the properties of the few enzymes that we use in molecular biology. Okay, and that's a problem worldwide. So people, I keep saying that there are many key persons today. Add 30 microliter of solution 1, plus 20 microliter of solution 2, and wait 5 minutes. Well, what's happening if I wait 10 minutes or 4 minutes? You know? You don't know what you are adding. That's the problem of today. Okay? So you see it's very simple. Then, let's say that there is some nucleotide that has not been incorporated. You need to wash it away or destroy. How do you destroy? By using H-release. So the system is working like this for every single piece. You first attach a primer, near a primer, that will be identical for the entire million of, but I didn't want on purpose to go too much into the details because you don't care, okay? But so you have to ligate the primer, to start again, sorry. So you attach the primer, and then you wash the entire system with GATC, with 4 nucleotide. And each GA bound, no, each T bound, yes, this case the pyrophosphate is released, the ATP is formed, and the photon is released, okay? Then you have a plate with 1 million wells. So every nucleotide, you take a picture, and you can infer that where you see the light, that is the nucleotide that you are washing into the system in that moment, okay? So you keep washing GATC, and G take a picture, A take a picture, C take a picture, blah, blah, blah. Now the problem is when there is a homopolymer, like in this case, because instead of 1 nucleotide, there will be many nucleotides incorporated. And this is the problem of this technology. That is very difficult to understand exactly how many nucleotides are in the homopolymer. 3 or 4 or 5. It's a single flash. Well, according to Jonathan Rolfer, what you observe is something like this. That if there is an extra peak like this, it's not a single nucleotide that is being incorporated, it might be 3. So let's say that here is a single A, here is a double C. Okay. Here is 3 times T. Because the signal is stronger than normal, than usual, there is not a single nucleotide incorporated, but there are many. Okay. On paper, the company comes to you, actually at that time Roche was coming to you, telling you this system is perfect, but we, as technologists, knew that this system had this bias. The homopolymers were wrong. So never trust a variant that is coming from a homopolymer that has been identified by 4x4. But look at the progression In 2005, when this system was released, the system was producing 200,000 reads that were only 100 nucleotides long. The Sanger is about 700, okay? Sanger is producing longer reads compared to 454, but in this case, there were 200,000 reads produced in the same time for a total throughput of 20 megabases. So in 2005, this system was producing much more than the Sanger system that was producing in 24 hours 1.6 megabases. Okay? So in 4 years after releasing the human genome draft sequence, we developed a technology that was able to produce 12, 13 times more, avoiding completely all the manual work of the cloning. In one single step with the droplets, it was able to amplify 1 million independent fragments of DNA. Then look, in just 2 years' time, the length of the sequence went up from 100 to 200 bases, and the number of reads from 200,000 to 400,000. So the throughput was now 100 megabases, 5 times more. Then, in a single year, from 2007 to 2008, 4 times improvement, able to produce 400 megabases by increasing the length to 400 nucleotides and the number of sequences to 1 million. Amazing! In 1 year, look what kind of improvement we have been able to produce. Then, after 3 years, this system was producing sequences that were as long as the Sanger, 700 nucleotides, and still 1 million. Okay? Roche acquired the technology. Roche is a very strange company. At a certain point, decided to quit because, according to them, the sequencing was, in any case, too expensive and unable to deal with their competitors, the time Illumina and Applied Biosystem. In any case, you can see that 700 megabases are not sufficient to sequence a human genome. So that means that in a single run, this system was not able to sequence a human genome. But it became very popular, especially in a small version that was the GS Junior for leukemia, because many oncologists started using this sequencer to test for this translocation that is causing BCR-ABL fusion that is responsible of many leukemia diseases. So this was the first technology. Now we see a small video. There is no audio here, but we don't care. It's just telling you that you take the DNA, you chop the DNA, then add the adapters that are not important for you, that in any case are important then for binding to the beads and for sequencing. Then you have these beads, you see, with all the polygons, one single fragment bind to a single bead, and then is incorporated in the droplet together with all the components for the PCR reaction. And then the microreactors like this perform the PCR amplification independently. And then you grow the droplet and you release 1 million beads with the product. Fantastic, right? You see, incorporated the bead with all the components. You start the synthesis of the second strand. And from that can only bind to another place of the bead because it's a microreactor, so it cannot go out. Okay? And so, at the end, you produce something like this. Then you load on the flow cell all the beads, and then you start the sequencing residual size of the weld is calculated in order to accommodate a single bead. Then you have the DNA polymerase, nucleotide is incorporated, the paraphosphate is released, the ATP is formed, and at this point you get light. APA is to remove the single nucleotide. And then we tell you that when you have, in this case, 3 identical nucleotides, there will be 3 pyrophosphate released. And so the signal that you observe should be 3 times higher. But this on paper, in the real world, is not really working like this. Okay, so you know that if you, now we don't use 454 anymore, but if you would deal with the 454 data, now you know that you have to be very careful when there is a homopolymer. Because if you call a deletion the lack of nucleotide, where they were, for instance, 3A, now you find 2, you think that there is a frame shift, your protein being destroyed, and you found a mutation. Well, don't trust it, because that is the Achilles wheel of that technology. Then Illumina, once again, the slide is just for you. If you want one day to go back to the PDF file that I will give you and see. Okay? Technology is not, the problem is always how do you amplify the DNA. Because you cannot sequence a single molecule. We thought, now we do single molecule sequencing. But the problem of the single molecule is that polymerase make error. So if you have a single molecule of DNA and the polymerase makes a mistake, you invert the wrong nucleotide. If instead of a single molecule, you have a cluster of molecules like we have seen, the 454, you have many identical molecules on the same bead. So when the pyrophosphate is released, it's not released from a single molecule, it's released from several molecules. If one is wrong, you don't see the error, okay? But it's not just a matter of amplifying the signal, also this is important, because if you have a single molecule, it's a single pyrophosphate, it's a single photon. If you have 1,000 molecules, it's a 1,000 pyrophosphate, 1,000 of photon, okay? So the imaging system may be not so expensive. Illumina decided to deal with the amplification of the single molecule in order to have a cluster by developing what they call a cluster amplification. And also here I have a small video. So you take the DNA, you chop the DNA, you bind adapters. Adapters are oligos that are identical to the oligos that are on the flow cell of Illumina. So you wash the flow cell with your pieces of DNA. They will bind one here, one there. Okay. At this point, you start with bridge amplification. So the single molecule of DNA is amplified in order to produce a cluster of molecules where you had one. This in order to increase the number of molecules. So this is the video, very old video, and this is a flow cell. You chop the DNA, you bind the adapters, the oligos that are identical to the oligos that are on the system, B5 and B7. You wash the flow cell with this piece of DNA. There are no wells. You can bind one here, another there. At this point, by this bridge amplification, you see you amplify that fragment many times, and you build up a kind of cluster, like you will see. Now, you don't have a single molecule, you have 500 molecules identical all together. Okay? how do you sequence these clusters of molecules? Well, Illumina, actually, Illumina is an American company, now it's a huge company. But before it was a Mickey Mouse company producing just some oligonucleotide. Then in 2004, they found that in the UK there was a company, I forgot the name, that was producing this technology, so they acquired the company. Solexa, okay? And then they start injecting money, like Americans used to do, and they used the brute force of the money in order to improve the technology, and they did it. But the technology is a slight modification of the Sanger. So the Sanger automatic is the one that is using 4 different nucleotides with 4 different fluorophores, which are terminated, okay? In this case, they are using 4 different nucleotides with 4 different fluorophores, which are terminated, but with a terminator that can be cleaved. So they block the extension of the molecule, take a picture, and then cut the blocker and continue, like we will see, okay? So by then looking at the fluorescence, they infer a nucleotide that is there. So once again, the scheme. Take your DNA, chop in small pieces. Then it's a problem. Because you see, you are a chef. You cannot add too much of this ingredient. Why? Well, can you sequence long pieces of DNA here? No, because the bridge amplification would create an enormous cluster. And so it would reduce the number of sequences that you can produce in a single sequencing experiment. So you must keep your fragment short in order to increase the number of clusters that you can have on the flow cell. Okay? Anyway, cut the DNA, add the adapter, pour on the flow cell, produce the cluster, and at this point start sequencing. So you wash the flow cell with all the 4 nucleotides. Remember, 454, you wash with G, take a picture, remove, wash with A, take a picture, remove, so 1 nucleotide per time. Here, no. You wash the flow cell with the 4 nucleotides. Then you look, for instance, what is the fluorescence that is released here, and cycle by cycle. Now, if you look and you take a picture of the flow cell, you see something like this. It's small for you, but try to imagine that this is a piece of a flow cell where you see some dot. You have no idea where you are. You have no idea of the sequence. It's just a flow cell, it's a surface with some spot there. Now, this is the first cycle, the second cycle, third cycle. A picture taken at every cycle. The flow cell is very big, so this system is very slow because it has to take a picture of the first part of the flow cell, then take another picture, keep moving in order to represent the entire flow cell. It takes hours to take all the pictures. And it's very slow because 4 different fluorophores, it means 4 different lasers. It means 4 different pictures for every cycle. So for every position of the flow cell, you wash the flow cell with the 4 nucleotides. Then you turn on laser 1 for the G, take a picture. Then turn on laser 2 for the A, take a picture. Laser 3 and laser 4. So what you see here as a picture, as a cycle number 1, is the merge of 4 different pictures with the 4 different fluorophores. then the computer is converting that in green, red, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? But actually, is the merging of 4 different images. See, cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3. Now, if you look carefully what the system is doing, take this point, you cannot see from there, so trust me. But in this point, here, there is a green spot. The green spot is a T. Then, in the same position, in the second cycle, there is a blue spot. So the blue spot is a G. Then, in the same position, in the third cycle, there is a red spot. Okay? You don't know where you are on the flow cell. You don't know what kind of piece of DNA is that. But you know that there, at the first cycle, there is a piece of DNA in that position that has a T, and then a G, and so on, and you can reconstruct the sequence. Okay? Now, in a situation like this, you can imagine that when the clusters are overlapping, it's impossible to read. So at the beginning, Illumina was discarding all these clusters. Okay? Then, by simply improving the algorithm for base calling, so converting an image into a nucleotide sequence, they have been able to improve dramatically their capacity of sequencing. Can you go with video number 1? Videos, they were incorporated there, but because there is no internet connection here, because Professor Gigi gave me a dongle, but I forgot it in my room. So I downloaded the videos before, and you can see them here. So there is no audio here, but you can see more or less the same thing. Okay, so you start from piece of DNA, and in the presentation there are the link, also written the link, so you can go and re-watch the videos by yourself. Okay, the sample prep is important. It's a normal DNA preparation. When you have a huge of the DNA into pieces, you have these adapters that are universal. And that we will see in more detail in the afternoon, probably. This is a whole flow cell with 8 independent channels. So there is a hole here that you use to flood the liquid into the interflow cell. Okay? So you see inside the flow cell there are these oligos that are complementary to the oligos that you have used for that you like it to your pattern. Then you wash the flow cell with pieces of DNA. They bind one here, one there. At this point, you use this bridge amplification to produce a cluster of identical sequences that allow you to produce many identical fluorescent signals when there is incorporation of the nucleotide. See? That has been a quite a clever invention that anyway today is showing many limitations. Okay? Illumina has a problem, and this is causing a very high amount of duplicates that is causing a lot of problems for people who analyze the data. It's also a waste of money. That today is about 10-20%. Huge. Then when you are ready, you start sequencing by adding the oligonucleotide, the primer, and then you wash the system with the nucleotide. You take a picture, remove the blocker, and also the fluorophore. I forgot to tell you, but clearly you remove also the fluorophore, and you start sequencing. Okay? We can stop here. The next one. Now, here we have a problem with this technology that is a loss the quality of the base calling cycle by cycle. How do we measure the quality of the reads? By something that has been developed for sequencing the human genome. The Human Genome Consortium, when they started sequencing, they wanted to develop a metric that allowed them to know if the Sanger read was good or not. Remember, I showed you that you may have the Sanger sequence that the computer report as a nucleotide, but then if you look at the quality is bad, okay? That for the Human Genome Initiative has been for that initiative, they developed this software that is able to give you a value that allows you to know how reliable is the sequence. And this value now, at the time it was called Fred, now it's called Q only, that is for Q for quality. You can consider Q10 when you have 10% of error, one error in 10 nucleotide, estimated by the software. Q20, 1%. Q30, 1 out of 1,000, and Q40. Now, Q30 is considered the platinum of the standard quality for sequencing, that is 1 error in 1,000 nucleotides. But let's say that the threshold is around Q20, 1%. A sequence that is a quality below Q20 is better. Now, if you look at the sequence of Illumina, this is Q20, this is Q30, this is Q40. You start sequencing and you see that there is a progressive reduction in the quality of the read. Then I still have to tell you that you can sequence from the two sides, but just consider this. You start from a good quality, and then by extending the sequence, the quality drops. So with the Illumina, we have the limit of the length of the sequence that is usually limited to 150 nucleotides. With one sequencer, that is a MySeq, you can go to 300. But if you see the trend in this one, 300, the quality is really bad. Why? Cycle by cycle, Illumina is losing quality in the base calling. Because Illumina, like many other technologies, suffer of the fact that incorporation is not perfect. So let's say that you have a cluster with not just four like this. Usually they are about 500 molecules. Okay? Incorporation of the nucleotide is never 100%. It may be 99.9. So let's say that in this case, in the incorporation, only 3 out of 4 nucleotides are incorporated. For you, nothing changed, because when you take a picture, it's a perfect picture of a red dot. But the next cycle, the problem that you will have is that here, this molecule will be properly extended. This one is taking the nucleotide of the previous cycle because the previous cycle has not been extended. So you lose the phase. Yes? So that means that you start, that you have a prevalent signal, then cycle by cycle, because of this loss of phasing, we have the other 3 signals that come out. So you increase the background noise, cycle by cycle, at the point that you don't know anymore which is the right color in that position. Okay? And this is something that cannot be avoided with this kind of technology. So this is the first, forget about this. Then, so the first problem of Illumina is the quality, okay? Then, as we will probably see in the afternoon, but I may want to cut this part, then I have to talk to Professor Ducey because maybe it's not interesting for you. After all, going too much in the application of next generation sequencing today, not related to nanopore, maybe not enough to provide you the data. So you have to trust the company. You cannot really check the data. And the funny thing is that it's not that there is like, what is a meter? Well, a meter, there is somewhere or a place where there is a piece of, I don't remember what kind of material is that. Let's say this is a meter. So go there and check. What is a cube? Well, for Illumina, it's something. It's 1 error out of Q30, 1 error out of 1,000, but they are limited based on the base coding, so the capacity of the software to properly infer the nucleotide based on the color of the spot. But other companies use a different parameter, so you don't know what Q30 means, okay? Now, if I am a company, I can tell you that my Q30 actually is a Q20, okay? You will never know, because you don't know how I calculate. It's a number that I give you. So this is a very good quality. If you go to Illumina and say, show me, it doesn't show you, okay? No company will show you, so you have to start that. And this is not good. So this is the first problem, that you get this loss of the quality of the reason. And then the second problem is that in order to improve the number of sequences that Illumina can produce in a single run, Illumina wanted to reduce the effect of overlapping of the cluster. You see, if you have clusters overlapping, you discover information. So the last Illumina sequencer, they use flow cells with holes, with a pattern, in order to have the cluster growing only inside the small hole. So there is no overlap, okay? So you can clearly see what is the difference here between clusters overlapping and ordered cluster. And since these clusters are so close one to the other, there is the problem that you may have a piece of DNA during the amplification that may jump in a well that is close by. Cluster amplification, you may have one piece of DNA that instead of staying in this well, let's go in the other side, and so you get this duplication. So, in order to avoid this, and very few people know about this, so if you are just a chemist who doesn't know anything about sequencer, you don't care. But if you deal with the luminaries, yes, you have to care about what I'm going to tell you. The problem is that they develop what they call exclusion amplification. With exclusion amplification, they get something like this. Inside the well, there are the oligos. So this is a pattern flows out. You see now the speed at which the well is saturated by amplification. A single fragment of DNA comes as some momentum, but because of this exam amplification that is causing contamination, you have 3% of the sample of clean water that is actually made of sample from the wastewater. So you are confusing everything, and there is no way to solve the problem, no way to infer that it's a contamination. The Broad found it because, say, okay, in this individual, 3% of variance, it's a cancer. Oh, by the way, in another sample that I loaded there, that variant is 100%. So, that is cross-contamination. But if you simply, like we do, if you sample out for outsourcing as a service, you will never know what else has been loaded on your on that flow side, which are the other samples. So many people, because also Illumina didn't want to talk about that, many people don't know that their Illumina data are contaminated. And there is a way to solve the problem, that is dual index, okay? But we will talk about that in the afternoon. Now look, anyway, how this technology improved dramatically. In 2007, when they commercialized the Genome Analyzer 2, and I had, together with another university in Italy, Genome Analyzer 2, the run was lasting 2 weeks. And 50% of the run, they were failing. But when they were working, we were producing 1 gigabase. Anyway, look how this gigabase is made. I will take it too loud or too, because I don't hear myself. You see. Okay. So tell me if I have to go closer or faster. Closer, better like this or better like this? Like this? Yeah, so it's better like this? Yeah, so tell me please, because I don't hear myself. Okay, so look, 30 million reads, but only 33 nucleotides. So very, very short read, but 30 million, equivalent of 1 gigabase, not enough to sequence a human genome. But already 1 year after, with the X version, the number of reads went up to 50 million and the length to 50. 2.5 gigabases, not enough to sequence a human genome. But in 2010, they came out with the IC 2000 that was producing 1 billion reads and 200 nucleotides long, 2 times 100, that was 200 gigabases. Now, if with the Sanger you need 8 times the size of the genome, remember, throw the dice and blah blah blah. Since here we are producing even shorter reads, 8 times is not enough. So we had to sequence with Illumina at least 30 times the size of the genome. If the human genome is 3 gigabases, 30 times 3 gigabases is 90 gigabases. So this system, for the first time ever, in 2010, was able to sequence a human genome in a single run. Actually, 2 human genomes in a single run. Okay? And that changed everything, because the run was still lasting 15 days. But you know, the sequencer, load the library, wait 2 weeks, and you have your genome ready. For something like, at that time, $10,000-15,000. Okay? And then the technology improved again, and today we have one instrument of the Nova 6000 that is able to produce 6 terabases. So 6 terabases is about 60 genomes in a single run. And in 2023, in the second quarter, Illumina is releasing the NovaSeq X Plus that will produce 16 terabases. So that means 160 human genomes in 2 days. In 1 year, a single instrument will be able to deliver 20,000 human genomes. And the cost, if you can produce 20,000 human genomes, is expected to be $200 per genome. And there is a computer incorporated inside that is already performing all the analysis. So you push the button, wait 48 hours, and then you get your file with all the variants already annotated for 20,000 genomes in a year. So you see, a single sequencer, 20,000 genomes. How many countries and institutions will be able to buy the NovaSeq X? That I had a video, not a picture at least. Very few in Italy. We will never buy a NovaSeq X Plus. It's too powerful. In the US, it's normal, because because there should be, I don't know where, there was a slide with the Broad Institute alone. The Broad Institute alone has been sequencing so far 500,000 human genomes. Alone, the Broad Institute, 500,000. In Italy, probably we have sequenced 1,000 human genomes so far in the entire country. Okay, so you can imagine also which institution will be able to buy such a powerful instrument. My university, no, it's too powerful. Anyway, so you see how many different sequencers have been developed. They become very much obsolete. This is my own, I think, 1,000, the first one that came to Europe in 2011. I sequenced myself. The first human genome that I sequenced has been mine. And it's now my fridge, the most expensive fridge in history, because the cost of that instrument was $700,000. Okay, so it's a little bit noisy, you know. I sometimes I tweet something, and there are 100, 200 views of my tweet. I'm not popular. When I tweet these images, this has been seen 250,000 times because it's the most, and of course, as intended, you see wine inside. Now, here is the slide. Look, when the Nova Spherica came out, you see the peak, the change in the curves of the distribution alone. As a single institution, they passed the 500,000. Okay? Now, if you think about Illumina, okay, you start thinking about, okay, the quality of the reads is Illumina to tell me if the quality is good or not. I cannot validate it. Then there is this extra amplification that is causing contamination, but at least if I buy an instrument, I know that there is Illumina quality behind it. But you think that because it's Illumina, all the technology, sequencing technology is the same? No, depends on the sequencer. So there are some sequencers that use the 4-channel chemistry, some sequencers that use the 2-channel chemistry, and some sequencers that use the 1-channel chemistry. The 4-channel chemistry is the one that you have seen before. Okay? So 4 different nucleotides with 4 different fluorophores. But that makes the system very expensive because you need 4 lasers inside. And one laser costs $20,000. Okay? And then it's very slow because every cycle you have to take 4 pictures. Okay? Now think about reducing the number of fluorophore to 2. In this case, you just need 2 lasers instead of 4, and you need 2 pictures to represent everything. So that means less time and reduced cost of the instrument. Identical quality, wow, that's something else, okay? But how the 2 colors work? We have the A with a double fluorophore. The G, dark. The D, 1 fluorophore, and the C, the other fluorophore. So, you take the first image, and you see light. You think it may be an A, or it may be a T. Then, you turn off the laser and turn on the second laser and take a second picture. If you still see the light, that means that is an A. It goes on at the first laser and is on with the second laser. If you didn't see anything before and you don't see anything now, it's a G. Can you imagine? You are inferring that there is a G when you don't see anything. Okay? And then, if you have seen the signal, the first cycle, the first laser, with the first laser, and you don't see anything now, it's a T. If you didn't see anything before and you see now, it's a C. Okay? You see the instrument? Then look at this technology. So the number 3 that we use now, because it's the most popular because it's the cheapest one in terms of cost per gigabase, is based on the two-channel chemistry. So where you don't see anything, you infer there is a G. Ah, okay, but it's working. The MySeq that we still use for metagenomics, blah, 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 is still using the four-channel chemistry, and indeed is going longer than the NovaSeq. The MySeq can produce sequences that are up to 300 nucleotides long, with a lot of error, but it can reach 300. This, that is only two colors, no, because the background noise increased dramatically because we have only two colors, so the sequence is shorter. Then they invented the one-channel chemistry. That is, you have an A with a fluorophore, but with a breakable bond. The G is always dark, poor G. Then there is the T, and then there is the C, that is without the fluorophore, but that can, in a second reaction, bind the fluorophore. Okay? So, in this case, first cycle, you take the first picture and you see the color here. Then, it's not that simply you change the laser. You wash the flow cell with some reagent that is able to remove the fluorophore from the A, and it's able to bind the fluorophore to the C. If you now see that the signal disappear here, it means that it was a A. If you see that it's still dark, it's a G. If you see that the color remains, it's a T. If you see that before it was dark and now there is a fluorescence, it means that it's a C. This technology has a huge advantage, is that you don't need many lasers, okay? You need just one. And you don't need a system that is able to read the wavelength that is released. You simply need a CMOS of a normal telephone camera in order to take a picture. These are for you. Okay, so explanations are left there with the methods if you want to do it. And that's why Illumina also produced the IC100, where there is no optics inside. There is a simple camera of a phone. So they sell you this instrument for $25,000, but the cost of this instrument would be 500. It's nothing, okay? So they are terrible. I don't like Illumina because they make a lot of money on instruments that could allow many poor laboratories all over the world, including Italy, many poor laboratories to perform sequencing at an affordable cost, whereas at the moment it is not affordable. So here it is why. I don't know why it moves here. So this is, remember when I was talking about the problem of image sorting, that is, the problem is, okay, so now, I don't remember the logic for which I moved this last night. Probably there was no logic, it was a mistake. But the system is so powerful that clearly you understand that you don't load a single sample on your flow cell. You know, you load many samples. But how do you discriminate between the different samples? Well, you add a barcode that allow you, when you sequence, then to assign the sequence to a sample or to another sample. Okay? The problem is that with this exam amplification, because you do not wash away the barcodes that are part of the sequence, there is the risk that these barcodes go to the wrong piece of DNA. And this was discovered by the Brody Institute in 2017. So until that time, but even 1 year later, people kept producing data that suffer of this problem. Okay, so if you have data that have been produced at that time with a single index, be aware that this contamination is So look at the logic. They were analyzing samples, human samples, and in order to reduce the variability that they had among the samples, they said, why should I sequence 4 samples today, 4 samples tomorrow, and 4 samples the day after tomorrow that may have some differences related to the different run. Let's do something different. That is, put together, blend together the 12 samples and load them today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. So you reduce the error because all the samples are analyzed in different runs altogether. Okay? If you have 4 samples today and 4 samples tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow there is some variation, you may call differences among the 4 and the 4 that are not real, are simply due to the flow cell problem or to put them together. They discovered that by increasing the number of samples that they were putting together, they were actually increasing the number of contamination. And they knew that it was contamination because they were coming from the same 12 samples, you know. So if you find the sample number 1, read of sample number 8, so you know the variant that are sample number 8, you read that is a contamination. But the broad new Illumina, you cannot read it, stated that this is not a problem, but we knew it was a problem, and since that moment on, we use a dual index technology. That is, every sample is identified by a barcode at the beginning and another barcode at the end of the sequence. So if you have reads that have been produced with a dual index, they are solid. If you have reads that have been produced without the dual index approach, they are not solid at all. Especially if they have been produced by a service provider that was mixing your sample with other samples. And which instruments are available, is it possible to read from there? Just look at this slide that you can read. I continue, Professor Di until what time? What?
After lunch, maybe.
What?
Up to 1 year, yes. Half an
1:30?
hour time is there.
So that was 12:36. I continue for how long?
Half an hour.
Half an hour? Look at these instruments. This is what Illumina, a single company, sold in 2022. They sold 340 6,000. They have a total, and the money, look, just in consumable, last year, $3 billion, just in consumable, without considering the instrument. These are the most sold instruments. And you see, this is working with the two-color technology, suffering of the exam problem, that is also causing a high number of duplicates that are due to the fact that the exam is not working. Okay, so they are between 10 to 20% of sequences that we throw away because they are duplicates. Okay, and they are going to release the Novasic exam. Of course, now it's so trendy to be environmental friendly that they now advertise the fact that they save in paper, they save in transportation, because to run a Novasic 6000 you need all these packages, and to run a Novasic X you now need just this. They also stabilize the chemistry that is also stable at room temperature. So they reduce the cost of transportation because you don't need to ship anything in dry ice anymore. Okay. And now there should be a very short video showing the Novasic X. If you can go to the video number 2 that is showing this system that is still not available outside of the US. But that will soon be available to many system providers. It's a huge instrument that has the advantage of having a huge computer incorporated. but of course it's a proprietary technology. So you get the data that are processed by dragging, that is the system. The problem of dragging is that it's a closed box. It's a black box. You don't know what there is inside. At the beginning, it was running with software that has been developed by the Broad Institute, but now it became proprietary. They don't tell you exactly, they just tell you what is changing in terms of functionality, but you don't know how that function is functioning. I said, oh, once again, it's complicated to trust this. But in this case, yeah, so probably this video without the audio that is telling you how, how good is this technology. But anyway, it's important that also we reduce, they do not reduce the cost of sequencing. One of these sequencers is going to cost 1.2, actually $1.25 million. And the annual service contract costs usually 1/10 of the cost of the instrument. So you need $120,000 just for maintenance of the instrument, even if you don't run it. Okay? It's producing flow cells that are producing 10 or 25 billion sequences. It's a huge amount. 25 billion sequences. Okay? Everything is calculated that are very simple, you see. But the problem is, once again, you handle this as a key person. You are not control of this technology because you don't know even what there is into the tubes. So you have to trust the company, and I don't like this kind of thing too much. But anyway, so this is the new sequencer. And the new chemistry is coming out also to try to defeat the competitor, because for Illumina, the cost of sequencing that never went down $1,000 per genome. Now they go down to $200 per human genome because of competition, especially by NGI, so by the Chinese. Very nice, beautiful instrument, but I would say we can move on. Do you see the flow cell is very big? So they simply, instead of shrinking and relying on very expensive optics, they create a surface of the flow cell so they can use the same optics that you can buy on the Chinese market very cheap. Okay, so this is a very inside. There is no fantastic technology. Yeah. Now it's difficult for you to read, so I will read it for you. You know, which is the best system for sequencing with Illumina technology? No one scientist asked this question. The scientists asked the question, which is the system that is less expensive per gigabase? And how much the instrument costs. So if you want to buy an instrument, you look at the cost of the instrument, not the quality of the data that you produce. If you want to sequence something, you want to spend less per gigabase. Okay? Now, this is the cost per gigabase. Consider that, not many can buy a NovaSeq and put on the table more than $1 million. But if you do it, you may be able to sequence at least around $5 per gigabase. But also here it depends, because Illumina is terrible content. I don't know if it is the same here, if it was the same like here in terms of printing. At least in Europe, many people 10 years ago used to buy an inkjet printer. Not so many people used to buy a laser printer at all. Why? Because a laser printer was much more expensive than an inkjet printer in terms of instrument. But you knew that if you were buying an inkjet printer, the cost per page was much higher compared to a laser printer. Okay? Then, in our university, some of us have still personal laser printer that cost not much, but the cost per page is much higher compared to a huge laser printer, departmental laser printer that maybe cost $15,000 and produce anyway a page at very low cost. So usually the cost per page will increase of the cost of the instrument. With Illumina it's exactly the same thing, but not because there is a technical reason. It's a simply business. So if I sell you a cheap sequencer, that means that you will sequence a lot, well, you will pay a lot per gigabase. If you sequence a lot, well, that means that you will need a more powerful instrument, you will have to spend more, but the cost per gigabase will be reduced. In the case of the NovaSeq, it's the most expensive instrument for Illumina, and of course, the cost per gigabase is the lower. But Illumina tell you, if you buy a NovaSeq, you have different flow cells that are one that is very small, two that are middle throughput, and one that is high throughput. So when you use the S4, that is the biggest flow cell, anytime I load an S4, anytime I buy an S4, I have to put on the table $15,000. So it's a lot of money, okay? So in this case, I can sequence less than 5 gigabases, $5 per gigabase. But if I use the small flow cell on a NovaSeq, that I use in SP, the cost per gigabase rise up to 10, 11. So the same instrument, simply because I'm using a smaller flow cell, the cost per gigabase double, more than double, what they are paying. Then you say, well, I have no money to buy a NovaSeq, okay? Let's buy the next SIG, that is this instrument that many small university or laboratories they have. I have an XC 500. The problem is that this terrible company, if I use an XC 500, the cost per gigabase goes up to $44 per gigabase. Is 10 times the cost of a gigabase on the NovaSeq S4. Then you say, I want to use a MySeq, that is a smaller version. The MySeq that we use for microbial analysis, because it's the one that can go 2 times 300, the MySeq goes up to $120 per gigabase. Illumina, $120 per gigabase on a MySeq, $5 on a NovaSeq. Then you say, well, I want the small baby, the small toy, the iSeq 100, the one running with one color that costs about $25,000 the instrument. Affordable, $25,000 is a lot, but the cost per gigabase is almost $500. So 100 times more than sequencing on a NovaSeq, maybe. Okay? So you see, you can spend 500 from 500 to 5 depending on the instrument and the flow cell that you decide to use. Then the Illumina NovaSeq X and X Plus that is coming out to this year will go down to $2 per gigabase, but on the most powerful flow cell. Because if we spend $1.2 million to buy the new Illumina sequencer, but you will use a smaller flow cell, you will spend much more. Okay. Now, with Illumina, you can sequence single read or per annum. And also this is an important thing. Single leader pair means, let's say that you have a fragment that is between 3 and 600 nucleotides. You cannot have fragments within lumina longer than 500 because of the problem with the amplification, because they go in the next well, okay? Or they increase the size of the cluster too much. And you sequence usually 150 nucleotides because of the extreme of the phasing problem that the lumina has. But this technology allows you also to sequence the same fragment on the other side from the same band. In this case, you have something like this. Then you may have a fragment that is long. I removed the wrong slide. I made a mistake. But in any case, you can understand anyway. So in this case, when you sequence like this, there is a gap in between. You don't know what there is there. But you have an important information. You know that this sequence is physically close to this sequence. They are coming from the same piece of DNA. Okay? And you know more or less which is the distance on the genome of these two sequences. Because it depends on the size of the fragment. Okay? Now, why is this an advantage? Imagine in any genome there are many pseudogenes. Pseudogenes, I don't know how much you are familiar with pseudogenes, but pseudogenes are like, it's a way of, well, we copy nature, or that is. So let's say that you have a gene working, or you write a message, very important message. You decide that, well, maybe before to send it, save it. Then you take, I may want to change something, okay? So you load in memory a copy, and you work on the copy. So sometimes the copy is better than the original. Sometimes the copy is bad, okay? So it's not even giving the original message anymore. So, well, nature is working exactly the same way. You have one gene, maybe potassium channel. In nature, the gene is duplicated. And at this point, nature can start playing with a copy because there is the original gene that contains the function. And this is how the sodium channel has been generated. Actually, I never remember if it was a sodium channel duplicated and the duplicated gene became a potassium channel or the other way around. So sometimes this works very well and you produce gene families. But sometimes the copy where the duplicated gene, where nature is playing without any constraint, get destroyed. So you have a gene that is almost identical to the original gene, but that is not functioning anymore. And this is a pseudogenes. In the human genome, we have 20,000 genes, and we have more than 15,000 pseudogenes. So that means that more or less we have one pseudogene per gene. And it becomes very difficult when you analyze a genome to know if the sequence that you are getting has to go on the pseudogenes or on the genes. Now look for instance at this example. This is a fragment that has been sequenced parent. This region where there is a C is identical in two different parts of the genome. Here, in this part of the genome, it's identical. There is a C here. Here, it's almost identical, but instead of having a C in the middle, there is a T. Now, this read can map here, but also here. How can you say that this read is coming from this region and is identical to the reference, or this read is coming to this region and in our patient actually there is a variant here. Okay? We don't know. But if the other read is mapping only here, at this point you know that the distance doesn't like me anymore. The distance between these two reeds, the gap, is compatible with this situation and is not compatible with this situation. So the aligner at this point properly remove the wrong alignment and keep the one that is allowed but by the parent. Okay? And this is very much important because if you are looking for deletion and insertion, you can identify them by looking at the distance between the two fragments. For instance, if you don't want to go too much into the details, because Professor Digito did that, you are quite heterogeneous as a background, so for some of you probably this is not important at all because you don't go valid. But if you see, for instance, that these two reads map on the genome at a much longer distance, that means that in your patient, this part is missing. So you see that there is a deletion here. So on your patient, read 1 and 2 are very close, whereas on the reference genome, they are very far away. So that means that on your patient, all this part is missing. There is a deletion. Or, the other way around, you see that the distance between these two reads is much higher here compared to here, so there is a insertion. Okay? If that is okay, we change page to ion torrent as a technology. Well, I have to say that, also because, I mean, for me, but also for them, I mean, after a while, the attention goes down, right? So we take it easy. Yes, Professor?
Thank you so much. First lecture, Professor Massimo clearly explained about different sequencing technologies. He started with the basic part, that is single sequencing. After that, he moved to the massive parallel sequencing. And yes, because the highlight of this thing is, very important thing is, that 454 pyrosequencing. Because if you are considering that 454 pyrosequencing, normally we are telling sequencing by synthesis. Yeah, you go through several materials, you don't know what is the meaning of sequencing by synthesis. Even you go through Wikipedia, you may not understand, but after seeing that video, in a simple way you can understand, oh, this is this. So that is the highlight of this first lecture. That is number one. Because sequencing by synthesis, so many platforms following that sequencing by synthesis, especially 454 sequencing, Illumina sequencing, ion torrent sequencing, all are sequencing by synthesis. So that is very, very important part. And he highlighted that the demerits of Illumina sequencing, because cost is very high. So that is why, that is another important he mentioned about because you see all around the world 80% they are using all our Illumina sequencing. But still, yes, so many what are all the drawbacks in that Illumina sequencing. He highlighted that part. That is one thing. And another important part is that channel chemistry, one channel chemistry, two channel chemistry, and four channel chemistry. See, these are all the very important things. Because normally in India, we are outsourcing for sequencing. So that's why we should know about what kind of platform they are using. And how many reads, that is another important part. was always telling about read. So yes, that is another important part. So based upon that, your cost is determined by that. Then he focused on that exclusion amplification. Because yes, from my part I didn't know about this kind of exclusion amplification. The first time I am hearing about that exclusion amplification. It's a very good piece of information for us to improve our knowledge. That is a very important thing. And finally, he mentioned about that single read and pair, single end and pair end. That also, before going, we should know. Because everything depending upon the cost. Because for reducing the cost, the company persons, they may say you go for single end. But that's why he has clearly mentioned about in this slide that the deletion, insertion and the duplication. Three things are there. So how they are going to do, what kind of anomalies are there. Clearly he mentioned about it. So these are the points. Please note down. Yes. Whenever you are doing, you please look into all those things. So I think this is the highlights in this session. So after lunch we may continue.
We have too many simple questions to ask. So
Sure. Please. Yes.
But I want to
please note down all the things.
So I'll be asking after lunch, sir.
Yes. Sure. Note down all the questions.
Yeah.
Because first time you are hearing all the things.
Yes, sir.
Because I hope 70% of the participants, they may not follow what he was telling. That's why I'm telling. First you have to hear. It takes some time.
Yes, sir.
So you have to catch those terms.
Totally some new things for us.
That's why I'm
But
telling. It will take some time. That's why after 2, 3, 4 days, once you are interacting, then slowly you know many things. First day, it is very difficult to understand what is what. That is why whatever may be the sequencing, first thing is you have to understand that concept first. So then only you will go one by one. And another important part is once you are exposed, your research is based on that particular sequencing, then you may know many things. But all are not exposed to all kind of sequencing. Because based upon our work, we looked into only one sort of this thing. But he highlighted all that drawbacks, merits, both the things, merits and demerits. So that's why it takes some time. That is why we are having a tutorial session. And we are also, every day we are going to evaluate ourselves. That's why whatever that questions is there, so that way is we may enrich our knowledge. So with this, I end my speech. So now we go for the lunch. Thank you. Your sample. Okay. Sample may be any type of thing. Maybe a skin or semen or blood, anything. Because here, whenever you are coming to see, only sample means whether it is a microbe or plant or animals. Right. Just plant sample, animal sample, microbe sample. But apart from that, some may go for soil sediment. From there they want to extract DNA. Or from water they have to extract DNA. From air they have to extract DNA. So those are all known as environmental DNA. That's why we are telling eDNA. eDNA we are telling. So eDNA may be your sweat, blood, any type of thing that is available in the environment.
whatever we are collecting from
Environment, it is not, we are not touching anything about the plant or animal or microbe. eDNA means totally we are collecting sample, we are not collecting from either plant or animal or microbe. No. This is available in the environment. That may be from air, or that may be from soil, or that may be from water. All environmental sample you are collecting DNA, then that is known as EDM. For that, yeah, you have to use only kit only. But this DNA extraction, yes, normally we are using that power soil. There is this one there. Okay, I will confirm later. Okay. This power soil
Soil is for soil.
It's also we are using that only.
So what exactly is it?
I don't know the name. I will confirm with my student. Okay. But please understand that concept first. eDNA is from environmental sample. Otherwise, yes, plant, animal, microbe, we are ready. So that is your sample collection. Anything, bird feather, whatever, you can extract DNA. Always you have to remember that DNA is omnipotent, omnipresence, like God. Yes, everywhere DNA is there. Even in air also DNA is there. But problem is how you are going to extract DNA. For that we have to find out a protocol. That is our part. So in the DNA extraction, yes, today we are going to see basic method, PCI method. That is phenol chloroform isoamyl alcohol, isopropanol method. Avinash, this power soil with what is the name of that one?
DNS. Kaizen.
So DNS parcel pro kit.
Okay, you inform them. Okay, so that kit you have to use. And another problem you may ask, why we are using kit? That's why I am telling you, because kit based method is already established thing. So definitely you will get the DNA. But problem is, after getting kit, we are also using kit, but we are not getting this thing. Where we are committing mistake, we are unable to find it. Yeah, several times we tried. But yeah, that's why we are following all conventional methods. That's why. That's what kind of sample and what kind of work you are doing. Accordingly, you have to decide. Suppose if you don't have any money, then you have to go for the conventional method. They may say all the phenol chloroform, all the carcinogenic, they may say. No way. Without money, they cannot do it. Okay. So today we are going to. Then after that we are DNA classification. Then even DNA, whether DNA you have extracted, you want to check now with agarose gel electrophoresis. You have to check whether your DNA is good or bad. That thing, yes, my student will explain you everything. Okay. Yes, you are going to do it. Then after that, yes, here very important part is your PCR, because you are making DNA is there. You are going to make several copies, like your photocopying machine. Photocopying machine is your PCR. Please understand that point. So there you should know how to prepare your PCR mixture. Yes, that is very important thing. And how to design the product. This part is very important thing while doing the PCR part. Then after that, yes, agarose gel electrophoresis you are going to do. Yes, what principle? Yes, that thing we will discuss later. And after that, you have to do purification. Then you can send it for sequencing. If you are having sequencer, you can do it by yourself. That's why our nanopore sequencer is there. That's why after extracting DNA, yes, he is going to show how to do that sequencing with the help of nanopore. Okay. Because nanopore is for long read. The Illumina is for short read. Okay. That's why you have to first of all familiar with this term. What is short read? What is long read? That's why. Okay. So that thing we will discuss later. So today our job is DNA extraction. So there what we are going to do? So here we are going to use some chemicals. So what is the use of that? That's what I am going to tell you. Okay, so that is very important part. So the basic principle of this phenol chloroform isomer alcohol, isopropanol. That method is, see, we want only DNA. Problem is protein is there, RNA is there, then polyphenol is there. So we have to remove all those things. So that is the main principle in PCI method. So here that's why I am telling. So this picture always you have to remember that. So whenever you are adding phenol, chloroform, after adding your phenol and chloroform, you will get yes. Upper portion is your aqueous phase, bottom portion is organic phase. Then interface also you will get. So always you have to remember this point. While doing, you have to check that one. So here we are using three chemicals. One is phenol, chloroform and isomer alcohol. Okay. So three chemicals we are using, and what is the purpose of that? Yes, that point you should know. Because phenol is there, chloroform is there. So when compared to phenol, yes, chloroform is polar. Yes, biological students, please note this. It's polar and non-polar. Yes, very difficult to understand. But still, polar means what? It is water soluble. Non-polar means it is yes, lipid soluble. Like that, please understand that point. Okay? So that is very, very important thing. And that's why here we are using phenol and water. So phenol is very dense. So that's why always it is occupying the bottom portion.
And sir, in interface,
I will tell you. Plus here we are adding the chloroform. That I will tell you. So this picture always you remember that. So now yes, always you have to say DNA is a polar. DNA is a polar and negatively charged. So always you have to remember that point. So that is why here in our separation, basic principle is we are following the polarity of your biomolecules. So already you know polar solvent will dissolve only in polar solvents only. Non-polar will dissolve only in non-polar. Already you know about this one. So that is why very important part is yes. So water is there and the DNA is polar. So what will happen? Yes, it will dissolve. That is point number one. Right. But protein will not dissolve in water. That is one thing. And another important part is phenol cannot dissolve the DNA. This 3 point you have to always remember this. DNA is polar, negatively charged. That's why it will dissolve in water. Your protein, yes, and protein as well as phenol also cannot dissolve in DNA. So that is why we are getting on aqueous portion, top portion, supernatant. We are getting DNA only. Because in phenol, yes, cannot dissolve DNA. So that is another important point you have to remember. Right. Already I told phenol having a lot of density. That is why it is occupying that bottom portion. And your genomic DNA, whatever DNA, yes, that will occupy upper water soluble part. So upper part only your DNA only there. So that is why now you are with the help of micropipette, you are going to take out this genomic DNA. That's why how skill by which you are extracting this DNA. Because in interface, yes, both are mixed. Some polyphenol, protein, everything is there. That's why how best way you are extracting that only supernatant. That is very, very important. That thing is you have to learn. So that is the way you are doing that practical. Okay. Then after that, yes, you are doing centrifugation. So now already you know about that. Whatever cell debris and protein, yes, everything will come to your bottom portion. Only yes, DNA will occupy your upper place. Right. So now, why we are using phenol? Why we are using chloroform? And why we are using isomer alcohol? Yes. See, that's why. So DNA is insoluble in phenol. So that is number one. Right. That point over. Then another important point is yes, but phenol will break down your protein. So in your sample, protein is there. So we have to break down all the protein. So that is why we are adding phenol. So that is very important part. So other way I can say yes, phenol unfolds the protein because normally protein is under folding condition because your disulfide bond is there. So you have to break the disulfide bond. Unless your protein is folding protein. Your protein is foldable, then only it is functional. So that's why by adding phenol, yes, we are unfold the DNA. Okay, so that is very important part with respect to that phenol. That is very important thing. Then chloroform. So normally you see chloroform that is protecting your DNA. That is number one. Right. Another important part is yes. Another function of chloroform is yes. Normally a phenol denature the protein or breaking down your protein. But in presence of chloroform, yes, phenol efficiency may speed up or may increase. That is why you are adding chloroform. That is second point. And third point, yes, you are getting upper phase, lower phase, then interface is there. How we are getting that many phases? Because chloroform is doing proper separation of the organic phase as well as the aqueous phase. So that way it is protecting the DNA in the aqueous phase. So these are all the functions of your chloroform. Already you know about that chloroform, yes, normally denature the lipid also. Yes. Because whenever you are extracting your plant, yes, plant containing a lot of lipids. So that way, yes, this is playing a major role. Then your isoamyl alcohol. See, whenever if you are seeing that, yeah, already you have to remember that your water is there, phenol is there. So what will happen? Normally, yes. What is the meaning of emulsification? See, you are adding water and oil. See, there is no bridge. It will not dissolve. But you add, see, after eating chicken, our hand is full of oil. What you are doing? You are using soap. So same thing you are doing. That's all. So that is the purpose of your isoamyl. Please remember that point. So the main purpose of isoamyl alcohol is yes, in that interface, yes, lot of foam will come. So it is acting as an anti-foaming agent. Isoamyl alcohol. That's why it prevents emulsification of the solution. So that is why you are adding isoamyl alcohol. Normally this PCI what proportion? 24 is to 25 is to 1. 25, 1. Yes, PCI. So 25, 24, 1. That ratio you are always adding. Then another important point is isoamyl alcohol playing a major role for your DNA precipitation. So that is very important. Not only it is acting as anti-foaming agent, apart from that, yes, it is playing a major role in DNA precipitation. So that also you have to. That is why in that interface, always you will get some kind of light foam interface. That's why whenever you are taking the upper portion, you have to be very careful. Don't take full portion of your genomic DNA. Yes. Okay, so that point you have to learn. Yes. Then apart from that, we are having other chemicals. Your Tris, Tris is the buffer, EDTA you are using, SDS you are using, sodium chloride you are using, magnesium chloride you are using, and Tris EDTA buffer you are using. Plus Tris EDTA, Tris acetate is there. So whenever you are using either DNA or RNA, you have to dissolve DNA. So always you have to use tris EDTA buffer. TE buffer only you have to use. Don't use TAE buffer. Tris acetate EDTA buffer. Don't use. So that is very important part. That is the role of your TE buffer. Then you are using tris. So it is acting as a buffer. It is maintaining the pH. Yes, that is very important part. And EDTA, yes, is a chelating agent. Yes. So another important part is one is chelating agent. Then another is it is blocking the activity of your DNase enzyme. So that's why you are adding EDTA. Normally you may ask that thing, why always in tris buffer, always we are adding EDTA. Well, EDTA containing that covalent bond, chemistry persons. I think I know. It's very, that's why I am telling you. Some covalent bond, something is there. Yes, that's why it is acting as a chelating agent. Okay? And your SDS, sodium dodecyl sulfate. So that is acting as an anionic detergent. It's only a detergent. Their main role is denaturation of your cell membrane protein. And sodium chloride, yes, it is preventing your DNA denaturation. And magnesium chloride, yes, it is protecting your DNA. These are all the functions of other chemicals. So this is the basic point you should know. Then only whenever you are facing any problem, you can do troubleshooting. If you go to this, then very difficult to play. There we are committing mistakes. Okay? So that is very important part. Yes. And this is with respect to your normal, because this PCA method normally we are using for all. Whether it is an animal or plants or microbes, we are using. But little bit, yes, changes are there. Normally if you see, if you are using any plant, then you have to use CTAB. One more chemical you have to use CTAB. And it's a DDT. It's a DDT. Along with DDT also. DDT. DDT. Come on, right. What you are using? Oh, DDT. That's right. So this two thing is very important while you are extracting your plant DNA. Okay. So that part I will see later. So now you are going to do this part. Okay. I don't want to take more time. You can start your practice. And yes, I will send you that CTAB protocol. Okay, so we will go through that protocol and you know about yes, because with respect to that whenever you are doing that plant DNA, you have to be very careful about polyphenols. Polyphenols and polyphenol oxides. These two things is very important thing. And another very important part is your plant is containing a lot of polysaccharides. So here main target is remove polyphenols, remove polysaccharides. That's all. So that principle you have to use. That's right. So here in CTAB method, we are using this polyvinyl pyrrolidone. Normally, yes, we are telling PVP. So normally, why we are using PVP? That inactivate your polyphenols. So always you have to use PVP. That is one. And your CTAB you are using. So that for you are separating your polysaccharides. So two things is very important part while you are working on plant DNA. Then another important part is how I can separate polysaccharide and polyphenol. Separately only you have to do. Because problem is you are using high salt concentration. Suppose if it is 1.4 molar, yes, polysaccharides are insoluble. That is another important point. You are handling plant DNA, you have to be very, very careful. And another important part is your salt concentration is very low, that is 600 millimolar, then DNA is insoluble. So that is why, yes, you have to adjust your salt concentration. So that way, separately, differentially, you have to separate polysaccharide as well as the DNA while you are handling plant DNA. These are all the very important part. And that's why I told polyphenol. Because normally it's containing polyphenol, especially catechol. And this polyphenol oxidase enzymes are there. So this polyphenol oxidase enzymes is normally catalyzing the catechol into O-quinone. This O-quinone inactivating your protein. So that is why polyphenol part you have to remove. And polyphenol oxidase normally present in your chloroplast, but catechol present in your vacuole. So these are all the basic point. Here you have to remove O-quinone, because once you are taking plant, then it will take some time to drain. So immediately what will happen? Polyphenol oxidase act on that and it will come O-quinone. So for that only we are using that PDB. Okay, so that is very, very important part. Normally you see, you take any plant, you are getting a brown color. Browning reaction normally taking place because of this thing, because formation of O-quinones. So that's why whether it is a fruit, already you have seen apple, correct? You cut apple, within a fraction of a second you will get brown color. What is the reason behind that? Because of yes, polyphenol oxidase acting on phenol and converting into O-quinone. That's why you are getting that browning color. So you have to avoid this reaction. For that you are using this PDB. That is the thumb rule in your plant DNA. Okay, so that is the final message. So PDB binds strongly with aromatic compounds, especially catechol, and subsequently polyphenols, and preventing the formation of reactive O-quinones. So these are all the basic principles that we use. Then regarding the eDNA and microbe, yes, I will tell you in the next class. Okay? So today you carry on with respect to your DNA extraction part. And another important part is whenever you are doing DNA extraction, your place should be neat and clean. You have to use gloves. And all you have to use only double distilled water. And whatever material you are using, everything should be autoclaved. And there in that lab, don't eat. Normally in lab only we are eating. That shows your ignorance. Now that students comment, I am not getting, sir, how will you get? Everything is contaminated. And especially in this kind of northeast India, normally it is rich in moisture. That's why you see any room full of fungus only. Yes. If fungus is there, yes, your DNA will be contaminated. So we have to reduce that contamination. That's why I always use mask, lab coat, gloves, tissue paper, this thing. I think that is very, very essential part. That's why dedicated way you are doing, then only you can extract DNA. Otherwise you may find a lot of problem and you may get scolding from your mentor. Mentor will say, useless fellow, good for nothing, he will say. I am also telling the same thing to my students. Because they are not following that rules and regulations. Okay? Right, I hope yes, this is enough. Now we can go for
banana board, and I will show you producing how the technology is working, how to modify the protocols, the cost, and so on, in order to make you very interested in the practical course that we will have on Monday. But in time I continue describing the technologies with Unifomina, that is the most popular. It's a monopoly. More than 92% of the sequencing market is in United States. That iotore is a technology that many people working on cancer use. It's a strange technology. It's always Jonathan out there. You know, the 454 guy, the one who realized that when you incorporate a nucleotide, a pyrophosphate is released. Well, this guy found also that when a nucleotide is incorporated, hydrogen ion is released. And so if you have a hydrogen released in the environment and you have a nano pH meter, you may be able to measure the difference in the pH because you have this acidification. Clever, huh? So we built a system like this that is able, with a silica wafer, to measure the difference in the pH when a nucleotide is incorporated. So the system is working like the 454. You wash the system with one nucleotide. If the nucleotide is incorporated, in this case you don't see the flash of light. In this case you see a change in the pH, a peak like this. Of course, it has the same problem of the 454, that if you have a normal polymer, so if you have more than one identical nucleotide, one after the other, you get a signal. In this case, according to Jonathan Goldberg, you get an increase in the signal of the peak when you have more than one nucleotide incorporated. Okay? So it's a very, if you think it's a very simple system, there is no optics, you don't have to see light, so you don't need laser, you don't need this, I remember the name of the instrument that is decoding. So the instrument can be very cheap. It's just a pH meter, incorporated into the chip. This was the first instrument that came out, so not really portable because you need to plug into a I don't remember what kind of gas you need because otherwise the CO2 in the environment is causing acidification of the solution. But it was very cheap, something like probably $20, $30, $40,000 compared to millions of Illumina sequencer. And it was producing short sequences. Then it has been improved, and these are the chips that are available. There are millions of reads that you can produce with this sequencer, but even the biggest one is unable to sequence a human genome. You can do something like an exome, but you cannot reach a human genome. Then the company could not improve this technology over this chip because apparently they reached the limit of the data transfer from the chip to the computer. So by increasing the number of electrodes, pH meter, they saturated the bandwidth, and the computing technology is unable to solve the problem and to build up a bus transfer that allow them to increase the size of the chip. Furthermore, it's really suffering about the homopolymer. So the company is masking the homopolymer with the software. It's amazing. Because if you sequence something with this technology, you are sequencing BRCA1, and you will never find mutation or variation on the homopolymer. But not because there are no variation on the homopolymers, but simply because the proprietary software that Thermo Fisher is selling together with the instrument is masking the homopolymer. So you don't see, not because there is nothing, but you don't see because you are not allowed to see what there is there. Okay? but many people working on cancer, they don't care about the homopolymer, they are looking for different type of variant. But if you are not working on cancer, and to have a system that is making so many mistakes is a problem. So not many people use it. Although it's very fast in the sequencing time. You see, Illumina is much longer, so this is very quick. Don't spend time with this, so if you don't see the number, it's okay. Consider that they use mainly amplicons, because they design the amplicons that do not amplify the homopolymer. Very clever. Okay? Then, a few years ago, the Naxis came out. It's like a toaster. It's something so small. The cost of this instrument was $20,000. You need another $20,000 to buy an instrument to prepare the libraries, because it's based on the beads like the 454. So you need to make these micro droplets, okay, in order to have these microreactors performing 1 million of independent amplification. According to them, they released a chip that was still not able to sequence the human genome, so it was very good for bacteria. Okay, fantastic technology, because they are having the bead with a piece of DNA attached, and when you sequence, when you insert a nucleotide, you increase the size of the bead, and so you change the impedance, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, and so you are able to detect incorporation of the nucleotide. And according to them, they have no limit in the number of wells, so they don't have the problem of ion torrent, because here the signal is stable. It's not a transient peak that disappears. So if you have 100 million wells, you need to get in the same time 100 million signals that disappear. Here, you see the signal is stable, because when these grow, the signal stays like this. Okay? So you can say, okay, now I interrogate this part of the chip. When I'm done, I move, I interrogate this other part of the chip, and I take my time. When I'm done, I go to the next cycle. Okay? It has been sold in the US. We were waiting for this instrument to come to Europe. They already have found the distributor. All the marketing and selling people, the network was ready in Europe. Then, you cannot read it, but I tell you that the CEO of the company, that was the inventor, started fighting with the board of the company, at the point that the company went in bankruptcy last year. It has been already acquired by, I don't remember what company, so we are waiting for Genapsys to come back, because the technology, according to the data they have seen, is very nice. And the cost of sequencing is very low, because also here, you have no optical part, you have no chemicals, you have just a polymerase and free nucleotide to incorporate, okay? So the cost is just in the chip, and the sequencer actually is the chip, but the cost of sequencing is supposed to be low. So this is promising, but we have to see what's happened now with the Rice, you see the co-founder and former CEO. Yeah, so the co-founder, former CEO had this fight with the board. Unbelievable, but that's something that happened. Now, BGI. I'm sure you all know the BGI, the Chinese. They had a fantastic story, because they built this center in Shenzhen, and they started sequencing by using Illumina sequencer, okay? And they were sequencing because they bought, they injected a huge amount of money there. They had many hundreds of Illumina sequencer, And so, because they were sequencing so much, the cost of sequencing in China was lower than the cost of sequencing in America, in the US. So, US people started sending a sample to the BGI. But you know that the politicians in America don't see so well the Chinese. And so they came out with a clear certification that is, if you want to sequence an American citizen, you need to be clear certified, CLIA. Right? If you don't have a clear certification, you cannot perform a sequencing for diagnosis purposes of an American citizen all over the world. Okay? So in Italy, we don't have any laboratory certified. So if you are American, we are not allowed to sequence you. I think this is something I don't like, but okay, that's my opinion. Anyway, the BGI tried to get the clear certification in order to continue processing the American sample. And the Americans, they didn't give the clear certification to the BGI. So the BGI could not process any sample coming from the US. Now, what the Chinese have done, they went to US and bought Complete Genomics. Complete Genomics is a company that is the first company who published on Science 50 human genomes before of Illumina. They developed a parallel technology. They were not selling sequencer. They were simply selling the service. So the sequencer was just installed in Complete Genomics. Okay? The Chinese went to the US and both acquired a company that was CLIA certified and started competing with Illumina on the American territory. That's clever. And that's what they have done, even more clever. They thought, but if we have the technology for sequencing, why not to develop a sequencer that then can be sold? And this is what they've done through their MGI branch. That is, BGI remain a kind of institutional entity, and is the company that is producing and commercializing their sequencers. Okay, the technology is very interesting because it based on, you have to produce the cluster of molecules, okay? They don't want to use the beads that are very complicated in any case. Very nice to see them, but very difficult to deal with them when they are alone. They don't want to use the bridge amplification because it's a patent of Illumina. But before Illumina started producing the sequencer, one guy from the broad, well, the name will come up to my mouth, developed the Polony. The Polony was a sequencer that was working exactly like this. You have a piece of DNA, you make it circular, and then you add the P29 DNA polymerase. That is a polymerase with a displacement activity. So you put it inside, and she starts rolling. You don't need, she is able to get into the double strand and move away one strand and continue synthesizing. So if you keep rolling, you get many copies of the same piece of DNA. And you get what they call the DNA nanoballs. At this point, you have DNA nanoballs that you pour on a flow cell that has to well. So the nanoball roll into fine, it fall down into a well. At this point, you have your cluster DNA into the surface, and at this point, like in Illumina, you play with the nucleotides which are fluorescent. So 4 different nucleotides with a cleavable blocker and with a cleavable fluorophore. Okay? Then that was okay at the beginning. Then Illumina, because the difference at this point, the difference compared to Illumina is only in the way we produce the cluster. By bridge amplification with Illumina and by nanoball formation on Complete Genomics. At this point, you cannot read, but I tell you, Illumina wanted to block the MGI market all over the world apart from in China where they didn't have the patent. And so Illumina started suing NGI, BGI that they were using a technology that was covered by several patents. And at the end, they have been able to block completely MGI and BGI. In Europe and in the US, we could not have those signatures. I don't know the situation in England. So at this point, MGI people consider that they bought complete genomics, so they still have all the engineering and chemists working on complete genomics in the US. So they have the Chinese money and the American money and the American brain and the Chinese brains and so on. And so they invented a different system that is, this is very clever, add a normal nucleotide, then develop 4 antibodies conjugated with 4 different fluorophores, having 1 antibody that is able to recognize A, 1 antibody that is able to recognize C, and 1 that is able to recognize T, and so on. At this point, you bind a normal nucleotide, no patent can cover that, okay? Then you put an antibody and get the fluorescence that is due to the antibody. So they've been able to overcome all the Illumina patent, and they call this technology cool MPS. Okay? They've been very clever. This has been a fantastic fight among the 2 companies. But so what's happened at this point? Illumina again sued them, claiming that they were, even with this technology, because they were using in any case not fluorescence but blocked nucleotide, they were breaking some patent. Okay? So MGI and BGI could not be sold in Europe and the US because of this. Then the Chinese found that in the complete genomics patent there was something that was covering the 2 colors technology that Illumina was using. So the Chinese sued Illumina, and Illumina was requested to pay something like $325 million for patent infringement. At this point, Illumina tried to react, but nothing to say. Illumina has to pay $325 million to BGI and cannot use anymore the 2-color technology. So what's happened is that the 2-color technology that Illumina use is covered by patent that belong to BGI. And the 4-color technology that BGI is using is covered by patent that belong to Illumina. So one is knocking the other. So finally, you see when June, July last year, they reached an agreement that says that since starting October 1st, 2025, there is a ceasefire. So they will stop. Illumina grant MGI to use the 4-color technology, and MGI BGI grant Illumina to use the 2-color technology. So at this point, they can both go on the market. The problem is that they go on the market with a Chinese sequencer. And we say in Europe, probably not true, but Chinese is cheap, but quality is so and so. And so Chinese that are now using this technology, that is CPAS, that is, so they have 3 different technologies that are based on them. Then I show you the video. The Chinese, since January 9, 2023, decided that in the European and American market, they are not selling the Chinese sequencer, but they sell the American sequencer with the complete genomics brand. You see, it's amazing. So now, many people don't know that the complete genomics sequencer are made in China, but with American technology, because in any case the scientists are still there. So they are developing a number of sequencers. This one, that is the big one, is going to sequence the human genome for less than $1 per gigabase. So that means less than $100. Okay? It's going to sequence something like, let me see, 50,000 human genomes in 1 year. One platform. Less than $100 per genome. But the good thing is that we are also selling this sequencer, the G99 and the E25. The E25 is based on the same technology of I600. You know, one column. At the end, it's always the same technology, okay? But it will be cheaper. And so instead of buying Illumina, buy this one. But this one is very much interesting because the cost it has been announced very few weeks ago. We just know that it will produce something like a human genome more or less, or maybe a little bit less. But the cost of sequencing should be very low, and the cost of the instrument will be very low. So I sequence myself 25 times. I was telling to Professor Gigi, because every time a new technology comes out, I send my DNA because I don't want them to play with a genome that they know already. Okay? And to tell you that when I tested the first time the G400, the quality of the data that I see was very bad. And then I was talking with the CTO of the company, and he told me, look, probably it's not the problem of the instrument, but the problem of the center where you sent it. Send your DNA to me. And I told him, I will never send the DNA to you. I want to find another independent laboratory in Europe. I found it. I sequenced myself, and the quality of the reads is higher than the quality of Illumina read. Really, it's a very, very, very good technology. Okay? Now, if we can see the video number 3. Tomorrow we will have many videos of my expedition with the audio I was promised. So these fantastic people will connect the audio. Yeah, so here in the can you see the technology? Very simple, you attach adapter, then you get a single strand, you circularize, at this point you add the T29, and this starts rolling. This is a fantastic technology, also because you reduce the error rate. Because if you have a problem with the bridge amplification, if at the first cycle you introduce an error, 50% of the molecule that you will generate in that cluster with Illumina will be affected by the error. Here, no, because if you make a mistake in one of the circle, in any case, this is not going to be used as a template, so it will remain a simple error. Then you see the nanoball go on the surface, and at this point you start sequencing with the technology that you want to use. You may now choose among the 3 different technologies. The last one is the CPAS, that is 4 colors, Illumina technology. The difference between the last and the first is simply in the chemistry of the fluorophore that they use. Just this, okay? So very interesting, because the technology is solid. Complete genomics is older as an idea than Illumina. Now, the story is incredible. I spend my time, you see, reading these stories and laughing because they keep fighting. Then, last year, in May, a new sequencer was announced. You will see many of them. Remember, August 2022, the first patent of Illumina expired. So everything is changed. Now more than 20 years that the technology has been protected by a patent. Aditi. It's a, let's see if I have, yeah, it's a company that went in production in very few years, less than 5 years since when they decided to get out of Illumina, former Illumina people, okay, had an idea of improving Illumina quality. Now Illumina is too big, is unable to really give the opportunity to people with good idea to bring those ideas to the market. They block everything. Huge companies don't like it anymore. Okay? I like small companies where you have a clever person with a clever idea and you support that idea and you go to market. So they went out of Illumina a few years ago and now they commercialize the system that has been available in the US for almost 1 year. So I can tell you it's not a promise. The technology here is very solid. Okay? They pass. They pass Q40. The problem now, I don't know if I have the slide. I don't know, because I was reading yesterday that the quality of this sequences is so high that many softwares have problems. So many bioinformatic pipelines for data analysis are breaking down because they have an internal control. Let's say it's impossible that the quality of the read is so high. So if you find the quality of the read so high, there is an artifact. So they stop. Okay? Now, it's not an artifact. This technology is reaching Q40 quality. 2 independent flow cells, the output is 300 gigabases for flow cell, so you can produce up to 6 human genomes in 2 days. The quality is high and the price is right. So they are selling a sequencer that costs $285,000, but that produce sequences at the cost of the Nova 6000 with the S4 flow cell. Okay? So here you can sequence just few genomes for less than $5 per gigabase. This slide is very nice because it shows you that, like I was telling you in the morning, if you buy a very expensive photocopy machine, the cost will decrease. Here you see that this is the cost here, and here the output of the instrument that is also similar to the cost of the instrument. So low cost per gigabase when you have a very high cost of the instrument. And you see that here, element is having a cost per gigabase that is the same of the Nova SIC, even lower, but with the same cost of the Red SIC of Illumina. So, as an instrument, so you spend less and it costs less per gigabase. How they changed the technology? First of all, they are using a kind of nanoboard that reduce the error and also avoid duplicates. That is, you make the molecule, your piece of DNA circular, then you have on the surface of the flow cell primer that are that are complementary to the sequence that they introduce with the adapter. So the linear molecule becomes circular when it binds on the surface. And at this point, you add the same P29 that starts rolling. And you produce the nanoball that they do not call nanoball because nanoball is a name that was given by NGI. But anyway, in the same position, they have the same piece of DNA that has been replicated many times. And they can reach 1,000 copies of the same original sequence per cluster. And this is an advantage. Illumina has around 500 copies, so they have more copies, so they reduce the error rate because they can manage the pace better. But also, instead of using they had to invent something. They could not use nucleotide with the fluorophore and the blocker that can be clean because it's covered by patent. So they invented something that I defined the spider. Think about the spider with 4 legs and a body. At the end of the 4 legs, you put the same nucleotide. So you will have a spider with 4G, a spider with 4T, and so on. Then fill the body of the spider with fluorophores. So you don't have a single fluorophore per nucleotide. You have a body that can be a huge spider with a lot of fluorophores inside. And then reduce the concentration of the reagent. You have a cluster of molecules. This is the best image that we have, but it's very complicated. This is coming from the only paper that was published a few months ago. So imagine you, what you do, I go to my patent, because I'm spending my time also reading the patent, because you find that the patent are telling you something that is different from what the company advertise on the website, on the publication. So the system is like this. You have a cluster of molecules. You have a polymerase that is unable to incorporate, but is able to catch the nucleotide and bring it to where the polymerase is. But you know, it's like having a magnet, okay? The nucleotide is attracted, but the strength is very low. So you need to increase the concentration in order to have many nucleotides very close to the polymerase. They say, here I have a spider, so there are 4 nucleotides. So the attraction is 4 times higher because there are 4 nucleotides that are moving together. So they can reduce the concentration, okay? At this point, you have this spider that is attracted to the molecule. It's very close there, it's bound by the polymerase, but it's not linked. So you take a picture, then you throw away the spider, and increase the sequence by using 1 nucleotide that is blocked, but is not fluorescent, okay? At this point, you add another spider. And then you remove the spider, add a nucleotide that is blocked, remove the block, and so on. The system is working like this. Bind the enzyme conjugate substrate, that should be bind the spider. Then take image. Then remove the spider. Incorporate a nucleotide that is terminated, but that you can cleave. Then cleave the block in order to allow to the binding of another spider. Or let's see if I can do that. Bind avidite, that is the spider. Wash, you see that there is the avidite here, take a picture. Then remove the avidite, add the nucleotide that is blocked, but is not fluorescent. So it's blocked, so you can only incorporate a single nucleotide. Then wash away, remove the cleavage, and start again the cycle. So by doing this, they reduce the concentration of the reagents of 1,000 times. And because of this, they reduce the cost of the sequencing a lot, because the chemicals cost. And by using this avidite, they reduce dramatically the phasing problem, because what you observe with Illumina here is not observed, because if you have, that's complicated. So, believe me, they can go much longer, and because of this, they already announced 2 times 300 nucleotides that will be available in the second quarter, okay? So they will go much longer than Illumina, because their technology is much more solid than Illumina. Then, so I have to slide, I incorporated it. You see, March 10. The problem is that now we are having a new revolution due to new reads that have a quality that is Q40. You see? One of the quality control parameters in this software was to consider a quality score higher than this as a probable error. So the software was crashing, and the Next Genomics, that is a company that is producing single-cell RNA sequencing kits technology and instrument, the software of this company that is worth billions of dollars was not working anymore. They had to modify it because the quality of element is too high. Then they also announced $200 genomes. This, of course, is based not if you sequence a single run, but if you write a contract and say that you are going to perform more than 230 flow cells per quarter, the cost will be 200 per genome. None of us has the money and the sample to analyze so many genomes, okay? But, so I don't care about this. The fact is that they already are competing with Illumina on Illumina territory that is actually a battle that they are fighting since just a few months ago. So they are already at the level of Illumina, reaching a cost that is identical to Illumina, but the number of genomes that you have to analyze is 10 times lower. So we will never reach this point, but already if you sequence a single sample and you spend $5 per gigabase, that is the same that you have to pay if you play with the MS4 of the NovaSeq, it's already very interesting. Okay? So Element is the most promising technology on the market in terms of performance. NGI, in my opinion, is the most convenient technology for some time. Then we have to see what Illumina will do. But I can tell you, and you will see that tomorrow when we dedicate the day to Oxford Nanopore, that the companies promise things that are not real for many years. Illumina always have been coming on the market just a few days after the announcement. Okay? So Illumina has always been very strong. But now Illumina is promising things that do not happen. So Illumina promised 1 year ago the new chemistry X that is not out yet after 1 year. And also promised chemistry that would allow them to go up to 500 nucleotides that is not here. They are not talking about these things anymore. So Illumina is probably really suffering very much the competition. Illumina tried to buy PacBio. I don't know if you know the technology, I will show you long read. The UK government did not allow them to do that, so they are now in a very difficult situation. Also because there are other instruments now. PacBio, it's a company producing single molecule sequencing that we will see the third generation technology. Okay? Now we are still on the second generation technology. The first generation is the Sangue. The second generation is this short read in clusters. Okay? Short read. There are other short read instruments coming. Well, this one is coming in the second quarter of this year. So now, they bought a company, they acquired a company that was called Omnion. In this case, look, again, to bypass the Illumina pattern. You have, let me see if I have the right slide. Yeah. You have a blocker on a nucleotide. Okay? So you add another nucleotide that is fluorescent. This can be bound, but it cannot be linked because the nucleotide, the previous nucleotide has a blocker. So the nucleotide, the polymerase takes the nucleotide, put it there. You take a picture, then release this nucleotide, remove the block, and then incorporate another block nucleotide, and start again. We have the video here, that is the last one. all tricks to bypass the Illumina pattern. So you see, we have this technology claims to have a Q40 accuracy. We will see soon if that is true. It will be the second company having such a high accuracy. 35, 40, is also reaching the Q40. We have polymerase. Polymerase has to incorporate a nucleotide with a block that cannot be extended. Okay? You see the video starting from here. Then you wash away and you put fluorescent nucleotide. The polymerase is able to bring the nucleotide here. At this point you take the picture. But the nucleotide then is not linked there. So you release it, wash away, I hear something. So again, you incorporate the nucleotide with the blocker. Okay. Just once you start, the nucleotide with the fluorescence comes. Oh no. Okay. So here it comes. Take a picture, remove, and then you wash with another nucleotide that has a blocker, and so on. So you have to keep washing. Okay. But in this case, you are able to bypass the pattern and also apparently for the technology that is giving Q40. Okay, so it's coming to the market this year. The company is very strong. So, okay, sorry. Yeah, so you see. Okay, you say, I want to sequence this. With which sequencer? Or I want to buy a telephone. Which telephone? Oh, what? A telephone? No. Also for the sequencer, you have to look for characteristics and so on. So this is, you see, more than 90% of the leads over Q40. That is one error out of 10,000. Okay? Then, okay. Then the last one. No, it's not the last one yet. Singular genomics, former Illumina people, they left Illumina many years ago and they knew that one day the Illumina patent would have expired. So they've been waiting patiently, they've been waiting, preparing, building up the technology and the sequencer. And now that the first Illumina patents are over, they are commercializing their own sequencer. That is very interesting because it has 4 independent flow cells. Each flow cell has 4 independent channels. So you can have 16 independent lanes that you can load independently. So it's a big advantage because it's not that you have to go with the multiplexing of Illumina so many times. Perfect system for single cell analysis, for panel analysis and so on, relying exactly on the same technology that Illumina was using. I was talking to them and asking them here, I don't know if there is a video, I think there is a video, but yeah, there is also the Vimeo video here if you want to launch it. I think I downloaded it and I put it there. How do you produce the cluster? Well, bridge amplification, they say. How do you sequence? There is no, so probably, yeah, okay, nothing. Exactly the same technology. So why should I buy you instead of buying Illumina? Because I'm cheaper, more flexible, and so, you know, pure competition. But they claim to reach, if you want, Q50. Q50. It's 1 error out of, wow, unbelievable. How? By sequencing Watson and Crick. So instead of sequencing one of the two strands, they sequence both the strands, and then computer is putting together one on the top of the other the two sequences, and when they observe one variant on only one of the two strands, they infer that the variant is a sequencing error, and they remove it. And that's clever. And this is very good if you work on cancer, because when you play with material that is coming from formalin fixed paraffin samples, you know that the formalin is inducing deamination of the nucleotide. So the C is deaminated in a T. So if you sequence the strand where there is the C, you find a T instead of the C. But if you sequence the opposite strand, the C has a G on the other side that is not deaminated, so you do not observe that value. So the problem of sequencing the paraffin sample is that many times you call variants that are simply artifact due to the fixation. With this, we get rid completely of this kind of problem. Then they are coming out this year also with a system that is dedicated to single cell analysis. So it will be probably a smaller system that is not going so long, it's not reaching 150 nucleotides like Illumina. Then finally, Ultima Genomics. They decided to reduce the cost by reducing the volume or run out of battery. So instead of using the flow cell, that is quite big, there's a lot of liquid inside, they use like a DVD. They pour the liquid in the middle, and by spinning the disc, they make a very thin layer of chemicals all over the surface. And this thin layer is so thin that actually they save a lot of money in chemicals. They use the same technology that 454 was using, that Ion Torrent is using. So these beads, they deposit the beads on the surface and they read with the classical technology that is one nucleotide, one signal. So the nucleotides are not blocked, so exactly like the 454 and the Ion Torrent, this technology is suffering of the homopolymer problem. Okay, it's exactly the same thing. Where you don't see the light, I reuse the same slide that was for the 4x4. So you don't see the light, but you see the fluorescence. And in order to save money, they use this system that is, they invented the mostly natural sequencing by synthesis. So if you incorporate a nucleotide with a dye, you have a big group that polymerase has to deal with, okay? And also you make light very close to the strand, okay? And this may introduce scars into the DNA. So they, in order to save also money, they use 20% of the nucleotide which have the fluorophore and 80% of the nucleotide without the fluorophore. So mostly natural sequencing by synthesis, okay? With 20% of the nucleotide which are fluorescent, you save 1/5, you save 4/5 of the cost. So the cost is 20% of the Illumina sequencing, okay? And the problem that they had is with the homopolymer. If you have 20% of the nucleotide which are fluorescent, and you have an homopolymer, how the hell can you count it in terms of number of the nucleotide? Well, they claim they can do. We do know that they cannot really do it. But think about an IPT, many other single cell sequencing and so on, where you want to analyze transcripts, okay? Where even if you have an error in the sequence, you don't care, you want to cut. In this case, this technology is fantastic also because it's very cheap. We do not really know if they will be able to sell many systems, because one of these systems costs 1 million and this analyzes a huge amount of genome. But let's say that you are in hospital and you want to introduce an IPT for Down syndrome in the pregnant women. At this point, yeah, you can analyze many women with this instrument at a very low cost. Then, this is of a few weeks ago, you know, it's incredible because we had an announcement that 454 is coming back. 454 was shut down by Roche. There is the website 454 Bio with only this image and written coming soon. So maybe somebody, Jonathan Roper, he bought the rights of the 454 technology from Roche, improved the technology, and came back on the market. Let's see, because the instrument was cheap and the technology was good. Then, do I have more time or is it 2 days? Yeah, so I continue. Look at me when it's time and watch me when you say stop. Right? But I need to do. Oh, but you will take the battery with me. I need a second so you can relax. I ran out of batteries. I have to check the batteries here.
We may continue tomorrow, sir.
Because I'm deaf. The batteries are my bag. No, I continue generation sequencing technology. Single read, not cluster. Single reads, long molecules. Second generation cluster, short reads. Now, single molecule, long reads. There are 2 companies on the market, Pacific Bioscience, that is now producing Bionso, short read, and the Oxford Nanopore that we all love. Now, long reads are changing the way we deal with sequencing. It has been the long read sequencing, the method of 2022. Okay, you cannot read it, but this is an article of Nature Methods saying that the long reads are changing the way we reconstruct bacteria, we understand structural variation, and we assemble genome. So they are really very much important, but they are error prone. The quality of the reads that we have here is lower than the quality of the reads that we get with the second generation sequencing technology. Pacific Bioscience, the idea is to have a polymerase at the bottom of a very small well with a single strand DNA. The polymerase is incorporating nucleotides. The 4 nucleotides have a different fluorophore, and you, in real time, detect the nucleotide that is being incorporated. Okay? Now, the problem is that we have nucleotide fluorescence floating, moving in the well. How the hell can you identify only the nucleotide that is being incorporated by the polymerase? Well, by building the smallest well on the Earth that has a volume of 20 zeptoliters. Very small. So, what is the idea? The idea is that you get a laser that is down here, that is able to excite only this area, right, into the well. So exactly where the polymerase is, okay? So when the nucleotide is brought in this region, it can be excited by the laser. If the nucleotide is here, there is no laser, there is no light coming in. How do you make such a small well? Because this is the well, the red part. Well, you know how the microwave are working, okay? The microwave, you have a microwave, and instead all the atoms start moving and everything gets hot. But if you put your nose in front of the door of the microwave, nothing happens. How is that possible? How is that possible? That the microwaves are not burning your nose? Huh? Because if you look carefully, there is a metal grid. This metal grid has holes that are smaller than the amplitude of the microwave. So, I cannot use the whiteboard, but I hope you can understand that if I have something like this and a wave like this, it will not go through. If you have something, it will pass through. But if you have something like this, no, it will only get inside very little. Okay, exactly what you observe here. At this point, but having a metal grid that is smaller than the amplitude of the wave, you can have the excitation only in this area. So this works because it's a local. This is a movie that is showing you exactly what you see. The well, and then you pour into the well pool, put into the well the piece of DNA, the polymerase, the zero mode waveguide that is this, now showing you what we got here, but it's okay. You see the light is coming from below, but because the amplitude of the wave is bigger than the size of the Earth, you get only excitation in this area. Nice technology, huh? But think about the error. You must detect the nucleotide that for a fraction of a second is staying there. And it's a real-time sequencing. The error rate is high. It's a technology that was error-prone. But the sequences, they were long. 10 kb. 10 kb! Not 300 nucleotides. 10,000 nucleotides, okay? Then, okay, this is how it's working. If you have a methylated cytosine, there is a delay in the incorporation of the nucleotide. So they are able to detect the epigenetic modification directly, not through bisulfite conversion, blah, blah, blah. So this is a big advantage of this technology. And the problem is that the error rate is very high. But they've been very clever. They thought, if we have a phi-29, if you have a circular molecule and the phi-29 is rolling, in this case, make the molecule circular and let polymerase synthesizing a second strand many times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then collapse all the sequences, one on the top of the other, in order to call the consensus sequence. In this way, you remove the majority of the error, and you reach a quality that they define I5, that is 99.9. 99.1% is Q30, is 0.1% error, one error out of 1,000, okay? Of course, the length of the sequence that they get is shorter than if they sequence direct, because they have in any case to read the same sequence many times. So if you have a sequence that is 5 kb, they have to read 25 kb actually, okay, in order to collapse in this way. So If you want a high quality, you get shorter length. If you want longer length, you reduce the quality. And it's now fantastic because it's able also to produce entire genomes of very high quality. The problem is the cost. The cost of one smart cell that is producing only 10, 20 gigabases of IFIRs is about €4,000, $4,000. So to sequence a human genome, you need at least 3, 4 of these flow cells. So you spend more than 10, maybe $50,000 per genome. With Illumina, it's going to be 200, so it's out of the market. It's only for some niche area, okay? If you want to sequence a bacterium, you put it inside and you get the entire sequence of the bacterium from this technology. So they are coming out this year with the radio. The first instrument has been installed last week at the Broad Institute. The first instrument installed last week at the Broad Institute, where they have a system that is producing not this smart cell has an 8 million well. They are now coming out with a smart cell that has 25 million well. And so, according to them, this system that is this price is $750,000 should be able to sequence a human genome with $1,000. So it's opening a completely new market for many small genomes that were very much expensive before, that with this radio will be quite low. One of these instruments is able to sequence 1,300 human genomes per year. So you can imagine how many organisms, how many reads you can have with this. Very interesting, expensive. In Italy, we have 3 Barbario instruments, and not really running full time because the cost of the chemistry was too expensive. Now we want to see what will happen. In Italy, I don't think we will buy a radio. Who is going to use such a big system? We will go in service. But in the US, there are already 50 radios that have been booked. So in the US, there are many institutions which have the power in terms of projects and the money to buy and to run full-time those instruments. And this is increasing the gap between US and maybe UK and the rest of the world. So there are big groups with a huge amount of money that can get access to a technology that is not going to be available to Europe, many countries, and to you probably. So we have to wait for some service provider to buy it, and then start using it because it's a very good technology. This instead, nanopore, is something that is very democratic. Everyone, everywhere can have it because the cost is very low, it's affordable. Let's see how this technology is working briefly. So this is just a taste of also nanopore. We will spend the day tomorrow going into the details and in the application. And I will show you my data, not the data that I find in the literature or that the companies are providing. Okay? But the nanopore, there are many companies working in this field because the cost of sequencing is zero. You take a piece of DNA, nanopore, and you read it. So, where is the chemicals? There are no chemicals here, so cost zero. Pure DNA that you pass through a nanopore. Many companies working on it, they are all in stealth mode. The sequencing market is so big that the companies stay in stealth mode until they decide that it's time to go out there and start fighting with competitors. Okay? We have also nanopore that came out of the stealth mode. All the others are still in stealth mode. I expect Roche to come out of the stealth mode by the end of this year, of beginning of the next year. Sequencing with nanopores, you may have biological nanopores, proteins, or you may have nanopores made by silica. Okay, so silica wafer with a small, you drill a very small hole. For the moment, they are not ready for the prime time, the silica nanopore, whereas we have biological nanopore that are available. Technology for you, how the system is working. This is fun. You know? Okay. Also, nanopore is a spin-off of the Oxford University, UK. They were developing the nanopore, and the idea was take a nanopore and use it as a trash bin. Then take a nuclease and put on the top of the trash bin. The exonuclease is taking the DNA and chopping the DNA. And so when the nuclease remove one nucleotide, throw the nucleotide into the trash bin. And the nanopore is measuring the nucleotide that is passing through the trash bin. Also, nanopore got 19 million from Illumina in January 2009 to develop this technology. Then they realized it was not working. It was not working. Because the nucleotide is passing through the nanopore so fast, so quickly, that the system is unable to measure the difference in the potential. So they've been very clever. They use the Illumina money, that is my opinion. They use Illumina money to build up a different technology that is based on the entire strand of DNA, not a single nucleotide. And in 2013, Illumina went away because the patent that they produced for this technology were also nanopore patent, not Illumina patent. Okay? Then Illumina tried to buy Bio, they blocked everything. So in the UK, they are very, very good in this. They protect their country. In Italy, I don't know here, hope for you is the same. In Italy, no, we do not protect anything in our country. So the idea is that there is a difference in potential between the top and the bottom of the nanopore. When the DNA passes through the nanopore, you record a difference in the potential that you can infer to a sequence, but you don't really sequence. I don't know if you guys know Shazam. Yes, you do know Shazam. You don't know Shazam. It's an application that we use in Europe and in the US. You hear a song, da 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 da. What is this song? I don't remember. Download Shazam. Click on Shazam, and after 1 second, Shazam is giving you the title of the song, allowing you to import in Apple Music, whatever it is. So Shazam is based on the recognition of a profile. Every song has a typical profile. They have a database of unique profile for the song, and so when you open Shazam, immediately it check the profile and return the match. Here they do exactly the same thing. You see very crappy technology, but then you will see how this technology has been improving, and now we have an error rate that is around 1-10% depending on the base caller that we use. And tomorrow you will see the data. So they have been improving very much. And the quality of the data I'm going to show you is, well, yeah, I can show you. This is, I generated this slide in January. And I was at the plant animal genome meeting in San Diego showing sequencing horses with this technology. And depending on the base quality, that is, depends on which option you select on the base quality. You may have a Q of 17 or a Q more than 20. So more than 20 means that you have 1% error rate. So the quality of the same reads changes dramatically depending on the base caller that you use. And the fast base calling that we will use during the practical course has actually an error rate of 9-10%. But it's already working very well for back coding. So that means that from now on, this technology is really ready for almost all the applications that you want to develop. The reeds, the longest reed that has been produced is 4 megabases. The longest reed that I produce in my laboratory is 450 kb. Can you imagine? 450,000 nucleotides in a single read with 1% error rate. Oh, it's fantastic. There are many systems available. The mini ion from $1,000. I came here with 2. The company gave it for free. You buy a flow cell and they give you the mini ion. So when you buy the mini ion starter pack, for $1,000, they give you also the flow cell. The flow cell costs $1,000, so the sequence is coming for free. Portable, the one that they bring everywhere. Then they have the grid ion that costs $50,000 as a computer incorporated in it. Here you have to analyze the data by yourself, even though they have now this very small version with a graphic card inside that is able to perform this code independently. And then they have the Prometeo that is starting from $200,000. It's 24 flow cells or 48, and is the one that you use if you want to sequence human genomes as well. But for this you need, no, there is no, well, I forgot to mention that a few months ago, well, it's still in early access, but there is now the Prometeo with 2 flow cells, the P2, that is so small, it costs $10,000, and it's able to sequence 2 human genomes in a single run. Okay? $10,000! And I brought it, I should have the video, maybe not here. No, I don't have it here because, wow, that's confusing. I took it in an exhibition for sequencing a horse in a booth. Okay? A veterinary took the blood, we extract the DNA, let's say on a bench like this, and sequence the horse on the same bench, on site. Amazing. So that's a fantastic instrument. This is the mini ion. Anyway, you see, you don't even need to plug in. The electricity is coming from the USB 3 port. Okay, it's very stable. This is me. This is the Tanganyika River, Tanganyika Lake. You see, it was very still kind of portable laboratory, but we still have many stuff with us. Now I go around simply with very things, as you will see in the video that I will show tomorrow. This is the quality of the reads of Papagayo and also Nanopore, just published, that is showing that the quality of the Papagayo reads, it can reach up to 40, you see, it's a little bit higher than Nanopore, but this is the read length. You see the Nanopore get much longer than Papagayo. Near future, what is coming out in the next few months or year that is still in stealth mode, I believe in Roche. And Roche acquired Gian, that is a company that now you don't find the website anymore. So this data this slide was produced when still Genia was available. The idea is to use the original Oxford Nanopore idea, to use the Nanopore as a trash bin. But instead of throwing into the trash bin a normal nucleotide, they were using nucleotide with a big tag that can be added there. So you have 4 different tags, bits, that the nanopore can recognize. And instead of using an exonuclease, you use a polymerase. So the polymerase is incorporating on the top of the nanopore the nucleotide, detaching the tag. So the nucleotide is incorporated, the tag is thrown into the trash bin, and the system records the tag and infer the nucleotide that has been incorporated. And then Roche also bought, we are very close to the end, so be patient for very few seconds. It was also Stratos. Stratos is based on this expandomer. A nucleotide is bound to a huge target that is not removed, stay there. So you synthesize a second strand that has the nucleotide plus the target. At this point, you have a very long molecule that you pass through a single silicon nanopore. And you know, the four tags are so different that it's very easy for the system to identify them. And you look at that now, start running. This system should be able to read millions of nucleotides per second. It's amazing. If you have seen Gattaca movie, that you put your finger there, the system is reading your DNA, wow, this is Gattaca. Probably very close to commercialization because although people believe that Roche went out of the market of the sequencing, if you look for the job search at Roche, you see that they are still looking, here the keyword is nanopore, they are still looking for many people, okay? So if Roche is hiring, there is a reason. So I expect them to come out very soon. Then finally, this is a Japanese company. In total stealth mode, they were public, they were releasing some information, now they disappeared. It may be they disappeared because they do not exist anymore. Maybe they've been acquired by somebody else, so we don't know anything. Here the idea is to use a quantum, the tandem curve. So instead of measuring like Oxford nanopore from the top to the bottom of the nanopore, they measure from the left to the right. And so they have a very small sensor nanopore that is able to detect the nucleotide that is passing through the nanopore. This is the technology, a wafer with these nanopillars that become hot in order to take the DNA double strand, open up the double strand, and having a single strand passing through the system. If this works, that means that you take blood or whatever, you purify the DNA as you have done almost, that you will have done tomorrow, then without doing anything, you take the DNA, put here, let the DNA get passing through the nanopiller in order to denature and sequence. Cost of sequencing, zero. This is silicon wafer, so this is lasting forever. So it's the instrument. Oh, I don't have the instrument here. Yeah, the instrument is so small. So the cost is nothing. That should be very cheap and allow each of us to sequence very long for free. And then the last thing is that this is of a Chinese market. In China, there is Titan. Titan is producing a nanopore sequencer, but only for the Chinese market. So I'm sure it's identical to the Oxford nanopore, okay? But Oxford nanopore doesn't have any rights in China, so in China they can also copy this one. And another reason is that the website is written just in Chinese, and I asked them why, and they told me because we are just on the Chinese market, and this must be another demonstration that this is something that has been copied. Now we have a clear overview of the sequencing technology. It's over. You say, finally it's over. Okay. I'm very happy Professor Gigi made this praise of DNA extraction because an entire day here would have been horrible, okay? So today we will do the same, but today also my lecture will be probably easier because of some video showing us in action in the different. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Professor. Now this session really is trying to one question. Oh, question. Ask questions.
Like NGS techniques are sequencing by synthesis. So I want to know that polymerase, what kind of polymerase is used? Like I know that polymerase stability is decreased by cycle. So what kind of polymerase is?
Okay, question. That's an interesting question because actually, thank you, because I forgot to say that, for instance, Pacific Bioscience has been working on the polymerase very much because it has a problem that if you have a laser that is exciting the nucleotides where the polymerase is, also the polymerase is burned by the laser. So after a little while,